I do this thing where I'll lean back. I'll try to get as far back to the seat as possible, and it goes as I'm leaning back.
I never hear that.
Well, that's good. That means the mic doesn't, which is a plus.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Like that's the...
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my weight. It's just stressing the chair. I do move around a lot while we talk, and sometimes it squeaks. I don't know if you can ever hear it. Nobody's ever commented about it, so
no, I'm sure somebody.
I guess you
let
can't
us
really
know.
hear it. These mics are pretty isolating, so
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome everybody to episode number 147 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I'm Brian Goulet.
I am Drew Brown,
and we're here back at the Goulet Pens HQ to deliver this casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show, where we talk about what's going on at the Goulet Pen Company and in our fountain pen lives. Today's show, we're going to be talking about resin versus metal falcons. Somebody seriously looking at a metal falcon for once. Pros and cons of fancy pen boxes. We're going to be talking about if we ever get asked to do final assembly of any pens, like from our manufacturers, and why that might be good or bad. Our tips on what to expect at pen shows and what you don't want to miss, since we just went to one. And if it's advisable to use fountain pens with a straight edge. I don't know, we've ever answered that before. And then we'll be spotlighting some pens that we got from the DC Pen Show because we talked about them and then forgot to put the footage in there. So, plus I actually bought more pens after we recorded the Pencast, so we have more to show you. So it'll be a menagerie of different pens, a smorgasbord, if you will.
I will.
You will. And then we're going to have plenty of else to talk about. So I guess without further ado, let's get into some feedback.
No more ado. Tell you what we will do is listen to our friend Rob Taggart.
All right, Rob.
Rob said the interesting comment, is it disturbing that I sat through this whole show live and now am watching it all over again on YouTube? Well,
I'm
Rob,
flattered by that.
No, it's not. There was a bunch of people that commented like, nope, not weird at all. So,
I mean, unless you're like in like one of the front rows, you didn't have the best view. That is something we talked about because it's like we were sitting just in chairs and then there were like a bunch of rows.
Yeah.
And so I felt really bad because like 2/3 of everybody sitting down couldn't really see much.
Well, next time we will have to bring ladders to sit on.
I was thinking we could have stilts and we could just stand up with our heads closer to the ceiling.
Would it surprise you to know that I have always wanted some like legit stilts, like the clown people wear at amusement parks?
You can get stilts for like drywall hangers and stuff. We'll wear them. Not ones that you have to hold. They like strap to your legs.
Yeah. That's what I want. Like,
yeah, you can achieve that. That is an achievable dream.
Right, but how do we get the company to pay for them? Like, what task do I need to do here to get you to say like that makes sense as a purchase for Drew?
That might be tough, but if we include it in a video, I mean that's a marketing expense, right?
All right, we'll figure that out.
I don't know. I can't imagine they're cheap though. Like,
no, they're not.
They're
actually
be like
hundreds
of dollars.
One of my wife's friends does stilt walking for like busch gardens and stuff like that. That's like his deal. And I asked him one time, but I forgot how much they were. But they're not cheap.
Okay. I'm gonna have to research this now.
All right. In the meantime, It's Me Lori says, if I could make a request, it would be a longer version of your ASMR video. Lol. Last episode we did ask
that expensive.
for how much?
Wow, sorry, I'm interrupted. But
a couple hundred?
It depends how high you want to go.
Well, obviously I want to be, at least 10 feet tall.
10 feet tall?
Yeah, I'm 6 now. Give me 4-foot
you need
stilts.
Like 4-foot stilts?
Yeah.
All right, let me do some more research.
I want to be imposing, man.
I mean, you're looking at maybe $150.
What a steal.
It's not that crazy.
Oh, man. That's
happening. I don't know. Pen show next year. Let's go.
You won't miss me.
Skyrunner adult kangaroo shoes. Oh, those are like the
two.
Jumping stilts.
Heck yeah.
Those are dangerous.
I would kill myself.
No, we're not doing that. We're 40. We're not doing that. Get out of here.
All right. It's me, Lori, asking for more ASMR videos. Okay. So 2 things. Number 1, we did ask last episode, what videos should we redo? Some older ones. And Lori is mentioning this. I will say, I don't know exactly which one Lori is mentioning. The one that comes to mind was our like 10 or, most satisfying moments video. Because that was 100% kind of, it was less ASMR though, because there wasn't like a ton of sound.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not what she's talking about. But then we've recently done some videos where it's more close up ink stuff with kind of like more lower tone talking. So maybe Lori is talking about that. I don't know, Lori. Let me know so that we can deliver. I will say that Brian and I both have some videos planned that are going to be more ink centric though. So if that's what you're after, it'll come. And I do plan on putting together another Satisfying Moments video at some point. I just need to start writing down some ideas.
Yeah, we've never shot a video with the intention of it being an ASMR video.
No, not really.
Because that's its own style.
The Satisfying Moments was probably as close as it gets, but it was mostly visual, not as much auditory.
Not auditory.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not like opposed to it, but I don't know. We've never intentionally sought out to do it like that.
No, I think that the next thing we're probably going to do is have Brian do one of those like mukbang videos where he just eats a giant bowl of random foods.
It's pretty much every lunch for me.
Including and you just
mukbang
and we'll like
lunch.
We'll just mic him heavily and just like everybody can hear him having green peppers and lunch meat and chicken salad. That
would make for some good mukbang. Yeah, let's do it. I'm into that.
Anyway, Blake Schlupp. I think I said that right.
Blake Schlupp.
Blake
Schlupp
says, now I'm staring at the chocolate Tootsie Pop from my recent Goulet Pens shipment in disdain.
Disdain?
Oh no. So does that mean that he said, now I'm staring at it. Does that mean you were not staring at it like that earlier?
Blake included a time stamp, 56 minutes, 58 seconds.
That was probably around the time I was saying that they're the worst Tootsie Pop in the last episode. So
I don't think they're the worst.
Maybe Blake, like me, was disappointed that we sent Blake some terrible candy that is not even good enough for the trash can.
Not everybody thinks it's terrible. Some people, it's their favorite.
Well, you know who likes it is Voodoo TX or Voodoo Texas. I don't know. Chocolate Tootsie Pops are awesome, says Voodoo. So they are
different people like different things.
They are a divisive candy. I feel like the chocolate.
Like that divisive?
It's chocolate flavor hard candy.
Like,
it's uncommon.
Well, especially because you have chocolate on the inside, but it's Tootsie Pop or it's Tootsie Roll chocolate, which is not really chocolate to begin with.
No, it's not. It's like
so you're already in like suspending disbelief from whatever chocolate is happening.
That has more of a chocolatey flavor though. The chocolate hard candy though is just it's just odd, and it doesn't really exist in a lot of places outside of the Tootsie Pop. Like, I think they're...
Yeah, you're right.
You might...
Is it actually chocolate flavoring?
I have no idea.
Hard candy?
But like, where else is it? Like, where else can you find chocolate hard candy?
I'm sure somewhere. I can't name you anything.
It's pretty uncommon. They have those like little... They have those little like root beer barrel-shaped hard candy.
Well, kind of what I was thinking.
That's the closest thing I can think of. Like, and you know, I think Dum Dums have like a root beer flavor, and that's fine. Those are okay. But chocolate
that's root beer. That's not
hard candy. Yeah, I'm just thinking like brown hard candy. It's just not super common. Anyway, they're weird. I just want to formally apologize to any of our dear customers who have chosen to give us their support, and we reward them with such a vile atrocity. So, on behalf of...
Oh, they have, chocolate starlights. That's definitely a thing. Let's see here. Hershey's milk chocolate drops. That might be actual chocolate, though. Yeah. Chocolate Little Pops, See's candy. They seem like the root beer barrel things, but chocolate flavored.
Gross.
So they're out there, but it's probably not that popular.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Okay.
All right, you're up.
Oh, okay.
And this next one was not a comment. This is just kind of like a sentiment.
Okay. We had a lot of great comments. I'm going to read what you wrote. We had a lot of great comments about how safe liquid watercolor may or may not be in fountain pens. A few of you mentioned that it might be okay if not for the fact that they tend to use gum arabic as a binding agent, which is a big no-no for fountain pens. So there you go. I would say because it's not specifically formulated for fountain pen use, you probably shouldn't use it for fountain pens. Just like other types of ink, like it might be okay, but it might not be okay.
But like, why? Like you mentioned last episode, like there's so many hundreds of inks. Like you're gonna get what you need.
It's more just like if you're curious,
yeah,
kind of a thing. So yeah, I think it's best not to assume that it's going to be safe for fountain pen use. But if you want to try it, that's totally on you, and knock yourself out and do it in a cheap pen. All right. Blinky's No Good says, Brian's bouillon story reminded me of the time I was a kid looking through my parents' Tupperware bins of baking supplies. This is, to recap, I was a kid hard up for some chocolate candy, whatever I could get, and I ate bouillon cube that I found in a jar because it looked like candy and it was disgusting. Okay, Blinky's No Good says the Tupperware baking supplies. I found one just labeled soda. I thought, oh, cool, this must be what they make 7-Up out of. Oh, I see where this is going. So I put a whole spoonful in my mouth. Ugh. And that's the day that I learned what baking soda is. Oh, that is disgusting.
I don't even know what that would do.
It would not taste good. I don't know. I mean, what you can use baking soda like in like baking. 'Cause it's
Obviously,
baking soda,
yeah.
like, but not enough to taste it. Like
I
you're
don't
usually
even
using
know.
like a quarter teaspoon of it.
I have
or
no idea
something.
what baking soda tastes like.
I don't think it tastes good.
It can't.
No.
But I like baking powder, baking soda. I've never just had it in my mouth by itself. So I have no frame of reference for that other than I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Also, I love that 7-Up was the soda that they went to. Classic 7-Up.
Yep.
Dig it.
All right. Andrea Cole got some beef with me, I guess. I'm a cereal purist, says the guy who mixes all his cereals together. LOL.
This was in response to hot versus cold cereals.
I don't think that mixing cereals together means you're not a purist. Right?
I don't know. Well, if you were a purist, I guess you would say that you are one who does brand name only and does not mix and match flavor.
I don't even know
So
what cereal purist is. I'm not an elitist.
No,
I'm not
just-
a cereal elitist.
no, I just think it was.
I grew up on generic cereal.
Yeah.
Like it was a treat for me to get anything brand name.
I just think it was a little funny because someone heard that and remembered it from a previous episode that you were like, I'd mix all my cereal together. I don't even care.
Still do. If I just have to straight up eat one cereal, I'm like, this is boring. What am I even doing? I will mix.
So it's not
together.
out of necessity. It's like you go out of your way to mix them
100%.
up.
It's out of preference. Yeah.
Really?
I want different stuff going on.
Is
Yeah.
there any cereal combination that you avoid because it is unpleasant?
Oh yeah, you gotta be conscious of.
You won't do
certain
like
things.
chocolate and fruity together?
No.
Okay.
I don't like fruity cereals in
No.
general, unless it's like dried fruit, like actual fruit.
Yeah.
But I don't like Fruit Loops and Fruity Pebbles and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big like kid cereal fan anymore.
Okay.
I
So it's
definitely was growing up.
So you're like combining like Cheerios and like, Honey Bunches of Oats and stuff
Yeah,
like that. All right, that's
I'll
fine.
have like grape nuts with like some Wheaties.
Okay. Well,
Those are pretty similar. but,
that's not
like,
crazy. See, I hear
like grape nuts flakes with some regular grape nuts.
combining cereal and I just think of like mixing Fruity Pebbles and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And I'm like, oh God, why? But
I mean, Cinnamon Toast Crunch can go well in pretty much anything.
okay,
I'll be honest about
okay.
that. But I'm not big on the fruity cereal, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not. Yeah, but yeah.
Well,
most of the
we
rest
just
of it.
buy whatever.
It's all
is-
just grains and sugars.
We
Anyway,
buy whatever's
so-
BOGO. So right now we have Pebbles and Pebbles
There
in
you
the
go.
house. Yeah, both
Yeah.
fruity and chocolate.
I'm all about some bags. The big bags you get, like the 40-ounce ones. It's like $5 for one of those. I'm like, this is such a better deal than the stuff in a box.
Yeah, you're right.
And I'll buy off-brand stuff, especially like the Bran Flakes. I'll buy me some great value Bran Flakes all day long.
Like Raisin Bran.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm all about Raisin Bran.
Yeah, it all
you don't
tastes the
need
same.
you don't need brand name that.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Blue J Chow says, Blotter video. Brian in a tweed suit with a pipe in his mouth
Oh yeah.
as he ponders the words he will then write with his fountain pen. He then writes his letter, and as he signs his name, we see a close-up of his ink blotter rocking back and forth over the signature. I don't own a tweed.
You ready to go viral?
I don't own a tweed suit. I don't think I own anything tweed.
You would get so hot.
I can't wear tweed. I would die. I would literally pass out and die of heat exhaustion.
Now I will say tweed does breathe a bit because it's wool. So
Okay.
that
Says the guy who wears pants all summer. Get out of here. Get out of here.
I will say I do have a tweed suit, and the only thing bad about it is that it does itch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you sweat as much as I do. It's like not.
Yeah,
It's not
it's just
a good situation.
on bare legs. It does feel
can't
a little
even.
unpleasant. It's not a big
can't
deal,
even.
with the jacket, but the jacket and the vest are fine. But on my
Yeah.
legs, I'm like, I need like a really thin base layer to wear under those because it itches.
Yeah, not happening in this life. But
yeah, but blotter video,
it fits
man.
the vibe though. I will say, I would wear that for a video.
Yeah,
like I would never buy a tweed suit basically because I'm a weird size anyway. I would have to really go out of my way to get a tweed suit that fits me. But I could buy some tweed jacket at Goodwill or something and use it for a video.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's an interesting thought, but
we need that blotter video. How else are we going to?
How many blotters would we have to sell to pay for a jacket? It's like I probably wouldn't even break even on that video. Anyway,
we're going to sell so many blotters.
Well, thank you. There's no bad ideas in brainstorming. All right, that's it for feedback right now. But we have a lot of new stuff to cover, so let's get into that. We got a bunch of things, Drew.
We do.
Each have several things. All of them. Well, I got all pens. So I'll start off with the Conklin Durograph, which we have in a matte black demo limited edition. What's up? This is our exclusive. And I got to say, this thing looks pretty sharp. It doesn't really look like most of the other Duragraphs.
It looks good.
Duragraph's kind of like a vintagey throwback, kind of a design in general, but not this one. This looks really sharp. It's $64. It does look kind of like it would be a piston pen, but it is a converter, cartridge converter, which honestly, I kind of like that just as well. But it's nice because you can see your ink level inside the converter and you don't have to worry about staining quite as much. They say you can eyedropper convert it, but it's got different parts in there. They look pretty well glued though. So I would say do that at your own risk. But you can use cartridge converter. It's perfectly fine. I'm pretty excited about this one. I think it looks super, super sharp.
It's a cool looking pen for sure.
Check that one out. We have a Delta Dolce Vita, DV Original Oversize in Riviera Blue with palladium trim. So we had this in other trims that were available in a bunch of different places.
Yeah, I think we had like gunmetal and rose gold.
Gunmetal and rose gold, which looked really good. And then we were like, how can we get more of these pens? And they were like, well, if you want to do your own trim, you can have an exclusive and have more of them. And we were like, yes, please. So that's exactly what we did. So we have them now. And looks pretty sharp. It's got a green ebonite feed on it. It's got some Brooks resin. And it looks friggin' sharp. 716, so it's definitely on the more premium end.
It's got that big old Yovo number 8 nib on that thing too.
It's glorious. Glorious. It's a big pen. It's a big pen. So it's the oversize. I mean, it's a honker, but it's pretty light. It's not really heavy. So even though it's a big pen, it's actually pretty comfortable to write with. So check that out. It's pretty to look at, even if you're not going to buy it. So you should at least look at it. Speaking of things that are pretty to look at, I'm super pumped for this next pen because we were able to resurrect it from beyond the grave. Yes, I'm talking about the Delta Amalfi. One of my favorite pens, mostly because Drew and Rachel hate it so much, and I just love that they hate it. No, it's an acquired taste.
I don't want to acquire this.
I will say that. It's an acquired taste. So basically what happened is Delta made this pen. We never really carried it because it was kind of when we were on the outs, or not when we were on the outs, when Delta was on the outs. So we never carried it, but I got one for myself because I liked this pen a lot. And then Delta went away and we were like, womp womp. And then when we heard that Delta was coming back, we were like, so y'all have any like Amalfis laying around? Not Rachel and Drew, but I was like, y'all got any Amalfis laying around? Because
half joking.
There's got to be some like leftover parts or something like that, maybe materials. And they were like, yeah, actually there are some leftover parts. Like we might be able to put some of this together. And I was like, for real? And thankfully other people on the team were into it, not just me, but yeah, I pretty much just wanted this thing to happen and they were able to make it happen. So it's a cool pen. It's themed off the Amalfi Coast in Italy, in southern Italy, where Delta's from. So
apparently the Amalfi Coast looks just like a hodgepodge of garbage because...
Well, I was going to say, whatever, this pen has something for everybody because it's got a little bit of everything
it does
going on in it. But I mean, there's a lot going on the Amalfi Coast. It's got, olive wood on the barrel, which... You got to admit, that feels good.
The wood is very nice.
It feels nice.
I have no complaints about the wood. The wood, it's one of the nicest feeling wood pens I've ever felt. Probably the nicest. It's so soft, so smooth. And
olive wood has got a great feel to it.
You touch it and it feels very lightweight. Is olive wood pretty lightweight?
No, olive wood is incredibly dense.
Weird. It doesn't feel dense. It feels very
There's
light.
not that much of it on the pen,
Oh, okay.
but it's a very dense, very oily wood.
It's very cool.
So yeah, it's really good. It's really good for use in a pen.
Apart from that,
it's got some resins going on in there. It's got
some red, some white,
gold,
some blue, some other
shiny
blue,
gold, some teal, some red and blue, and it's got a little bit of everything in there.
It's too much.
But I mean, it kind of fits with like the sailing, theme. I think
Does it
it's
need
got a
two
nautical
blues
theme.
though? Why can't it just have one blue?
I think the blues look good together. They complement each other.
With more red?
You just gotta embrace it. You just gotta appreciate it. I don't know. It's kind of, I think of like nautical like flags and stuff like that. They're usually like very bold colors, lots of like reds and whites and blues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No
Because
yellow.
they have
No
to-
yellow in this one.
They have to serve as like
If they'd put
warning.
if they'd put yellow in it, I would have been like, all right, no, that's a bit
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It looks really good. It's meant to like be like the colors of like the waters, like the different shades of the water around the Amalfi Coast. I don't know. I think it looks awesome. It's not going to be for everybody for sure, but it's gold nib pen, really nice. And basically, this is like, from what I understand, they're not going to like bring this pen back. It's like leftover parts. We were able to make a bunch, and they're exclusive to us, and we have them, and they will sell at some point. I was like, oh man, these could sell, but I don't know. They might take a while to sell because they're so niche. But yeah, they'll be around until they're not, and then they'll probably never be around again. So if you're into it, then move it up on your buy list, because we will not have them forever.
Take them, please.
And you do have good nib options though. So you do get extra fine, fine, medium, broad, and then you can get a flex fine, like a gold flex fine. So this is a Yovo gold flex fine, which actually writes quite nice.
And that's the only main difference between this pen and the old one, is the fact that there's a different nib on it now.
Yes. So they were Bach nibs previously. So my OG one's got a Bach nib, a slightly different nib design too. But I mean, it still wrote similarly, but these ones do write really well. So, and it's got a really fancy converter too. It's got the converter with like the metal like shroud on the back. So you can actually, I guess it's called like, it's sort of like their 39+1, they called it the converter plus. I think they called it back in the day.
I think they call it converter plus when it sticks out of the back.
So you can unscrew the cap on this pen.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can operate the converter without having to open up the body of the pen.
That's what they call it, yeah.
You're still unscrewing something and then operating the converter, so it doesn't really, except you can't see how much ink you're getting in there. I don't really know what it buys you, but it's fancy and it's kind of fun. I like to play with it. I just like to unscrew the back. It's like a fidget thing. I like to unscrew the back knob. Anyway, it's just my weird thing. If you like weird pens like that, then go check it out.
It's very Italian.
And if you don't like it, I won't be offended, because I hear it all the time from other folks here. But I don't care, because I like it. Last one I got. These are actually legitimately beautiful pens. Tatcha Empress fountain pens. These are all really, really nice Mach-E pens. Limited editions, very limited. I think we might have like one of each or something like that. I don't know they don't make a ton of these anyway. And there's an article that came out in Pen World that explained in more detail, like the earthquake that hit Wajima back in January on New Year's Day. It pretty much devastated that area. That's like where a lot of Mach-E gets done. The artists are still working, like most, and we've like tried to touch base, with all the companies that we do that, do Mach-E stuff. I don't think that anybody was like truly devastated by that, like physical, like no physical harm, but like the whole area is just, it's on like an older part of Japan, and they said like basically every building more than like 4 or 5 stories tall just crumbled because they weren't earthquake proof. And then like all the plumbing and stuff they had, like the ground like shifted, like tectonic plates like shifted. So it's like their sewage and their plumbing and all that like doesn't line up anymore. So they've got to like redo all that. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So it's going to be a while before that area recovers. And there's a lot of tradespeople, a lot of craftsmanship going on in that area. So they're still like absolute labor of love putting out Mach-E pens from the Wajima prefecture, but like it's I don't know if it's a prefecture. Is it a prefecture or is it just the city? It might just be the city. Sorry if I'm misspeaking. But anyway, these 3 pens are beautiful, and you're also like getting to support these artists too, who are doing what they love. So we have one called Dawn's Celebration. It's a firefly and flower themed. We have another one that's a koi themed, Koi Oasis. And then we have Double Dragons, which wasn't Double Dragon a video game or something back
Of course.
in the day? Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds
Billy and Jimmy.
There you go. Didn't they make a movie about that?
They did in the mid-90s.
Terrible.
I remember it being pretty cool, but I'm certain it's pretty terrible.
Oh, I feel like a lot of the...
I want to say that Robert Patrick was the villain in that, or somebody that looked like him. Bleach blonde hair, black shoulder pads, suit. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
And they made a fighting game too, which I think was like just Double Dragon 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the
It
standard.
kind of rings a bell for me, but not enough.
Oh yeah, Double
actually
Dragon's a
remember it.
classic.
I need to look it up, but it's not that Double Dragon themed. It's like actual.
But it could be
dragons.
if you wanted it to be.
I
If you're
mean-
a fan of the 1990 whatever Double Dragon movie, this is the pen for you.
There you go. For only $5,000, you can pick one of those up. So these pens are all in the $4,000 to $5,000, realm, but that's because they take a lot of work to make them happen, and they look really beautiful. So that's what I got. Drew, you got some exciting stuff too.
I do. This is something that we've had in the works for a while now. If you'll remember, or if you just visit the website, you'll see a Retro 51 rollerball called Fire and Dice. This was something that we took a long time getting off the ground.
Yep.
We did a lot of research on the tabletop gaming community, making sure all of the dice that we had in there was correct and proper. We really wanted to celebrate the tabletop gaming universe, and it went over extremely well. We have kept that pen in stock. It continues to be popular. So popular, in fact, we thought that with the dragon, it needed a party member to combat it. So we're introducing the Fire and Dice 2E, second edition, if you will, fighter. So this is our first class member of what may become a party, who knows, but a human male, in this case, fighter class. And we know that this is a very, very popular class, if not the most popular class. It's a little basic, but still very popular. So we're choosing to go with the fighter, one-handed sword, shield, armor, but not too much armor. So we're having the fighter go up against the dragon now. That pen is available in both a rollerball and a pencil. The rollerball is $57. The pencil is $70. So it is a mechanical pencil, twist to operate, solid eraser there.
Thick pencil too. It's like 1.3 mil lead or
It's a
something.
big lead, yeah.
Big
lead there. And then in addition to that, we're going to sell 2 different koozie cases from koozies from Rickshaw Bag Works. A double koozie is going to run you $29, and a single with the fighter printed on it is going to be $21. So we still do sell the dragon and the dragon double pen case, I believe. So if
double dragon.
Oh, there we go. So if you wanted to add to your collection, this is the way to do it. Or if you were just very anti-dragon and very pro-party member, now is your chance to pick one up so that you can go head-to-head with the dragon. So more on that later. We are going to do a little bit of a giveaway in the near future in some capacity related to this pen. So stay tuned for that. We're still working on that, but it'll be happening soon.
The near future meaning not this episode.
Not this episode.
A future
Probably next episode.
Yeah.
But you still have to watch this in its entirety for unknown reasons.
Of course. For the big surprise at the end.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Number 13 will shock you.
Ice cream sandwich. Anyway, Endless Alchemy inks. So they were a thing. We sold them. They were in very unique bottles, and then they went away for a little while. They are back in slightly redesigned bottles. So the walls of these bottles, which are shaped like flasks or don't know what the right word for those are, but they
Oceans?
look, yes, they look cool. The walls are a little bit thicker. And if you had one of the previous ones, you noticed that the cap was actually packaged separately from the bottle with a rubber stopper being attached to the bottle for shipping. That's no longer the case. They're shipped with the cap in place, more standard, very secure. They still are shaped the way they are. They still have the cork coaster, which is also a little bit more thick and small. They still get the job done. But in addition to those coming back with a slight redesign to the bottles to make them a little bit stronger, by the way, those colors are Wizard's Pencil, which is a gray, Candy Sea, which is a blue, Drops of Mars, which is a red, and Mystic Forest, which is a green. In addition, we're having 2 new colors. The Stardust colors is what they're calling it. Candy Sea and Toffee, so it's the Candy Sea color, but with Toffee meaning Stardust. It's going to have some sparkle in there. And then Magic Peach Fuzz. So that is a non-existent ink that now is a peachy, sparkly ink. Both of these colors don't have a ton of shimmer in them. So if you are someone who likes the shimmer aesthetic, but really just doesn't want to mess around with any sort of increased, cleaning or maintenance. Perhaps
Just want a kiss, kiss of shimmer.
This gives you that kiss. In
go.
fact, the Peach Fuzz has such conservative amount of shimmer in it. Actually comes with a smaller little bottle for you to add more should you want it. So there we go. First time I've seen that been done in an ink. So that's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like the glitter potion from Wearing Gold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we've got 3 new Scribo pens coming our way. Now, these are not new models, but they are new colors of existing models that we have. The Ladota, we've got 2 new Ladota colors, Travertino and Labant. And the Labant is a beautiful blue. Travertino is a nice flecked resin, which looks very kind of earthy, a little kind of tile-y, in my opinion. Travertine, I guess. And then finally, we've got a Puma. This one is really interesting. It's a hand-painted Puma. And it's got blue, reds, yellows all over the place. It's very beautiful. The Puma is going to run you $670, and the Ladota is $590. Now, you might wonder, well, hold on. The Puma is normally a little bit less. Yes, but it is hand-painted, y'all.
Yeah, that's labor cost.
All 3 of these are LEs, but the Puma in this case is, very much influenced by the labor of this particular pen. And then finally, for me, we've got a new Opus 88 demonstrator. I mentioned this before in just kind of like coming soon stuff, but the demonstrator is kind of the same full-size demonstrator that you know and love, but now with a blue whale printing on it. So you've got your whale, you've got your waves, and you've got some other exciting kind of tiered patterns going on in the pen. It's a beautiful pen, and now it just kind of has a nice oceanic vibe and limits you to only using blue ink. Sorry.
Why?
Because it's got a whale on it, and it's blue.
You can use any color.
You can't, though. No.
There's nothing stopping
Who knows what would happen if you put non-blue ink in that
You would write with a different color ink.
If you put non-blue ink in that pen, don't tell me about it, please. But it's a great opportunity to use your favorite oceany, whaley blue. No.
Sometimes I like to point out when I have a mismatched pen and ink pairing to others in this office who just can't deal with that.
All right, exclusive product idea for the Goulet Pen Company, Brian. Just popped in there. You know those little floaty things that have like a little sailboat?
Yeah, those little like desktop toy.
You add one of those to your internal piston filler to have a little floaty thing in your ink, like a little sailboat or a little swimmer man.
Okay.
Now, granted, I don't think that would actually work because those desktop toys are filled with like oil and water, not just water. But...
Right.
All right, so we just need to fill.
Ink is also not clear, so you couldn't really see it.
Well, all right, I'll workshop that, but I'll get back to you.
All right.
I just want to make sure I get credit for it when it happens.
Sure.
Even if someone else does it.
Have all the credit.
Sweet. All right.
There you go. You threw it out there. Now it's your idea.
Mine.
All right. Let's go on to some company updates. I said updates. Really, I mean update. We have one company update video that we got out this week called Pilot Customs Explained. This has been a very long time in the making.
Speaking of whales.
Due mostly to this has been my white whale. Really since, I want to say October or November last year is when we first talked about doing this video.
Wow.
It's really been that long.
I did not know that.
No, I've not actively been working on this video that long. Mostly I've been delaying completing the video, but I finally got it all prepped and it's up. It's explaining a lot about the Pilot Custom series. A little bit of history, just a little bit, because that was what was blowing my mind as I was getting into the history. And it was a deep dive, and I couldn't get enough information to meet my own satisfaction. So we'll be making a more robust version of it in a blog post written form that is more easily updatable than a video. But this one's going to really focus on just the pens that we currently have available. So it should be pretty good, though. It's going to explain the different nibs. It's going to explain what all the different numbers mean to all the different Pilot customs. It's pretty thorough, and I feel pretty good about how it ended up coming together. So check that one out. And then as Drew and I were prepping this video, we were like, what other company updates should we talk about? Like, we've done stuff, like we did some stuff around the Olympics. You know, we did like an Olympic trivia thing on the team that was pretty fun. You know, we just had a bunch of questions about Olympic stuff. We did, what else did we do? We had the Olympics on, you know, just in the break room while the day was going on.
But we're like, do y'all care about that?
Do y'all care about this? Like, this is stuff that's like, I guess, going on in the company, but like, do you really care that much?
But, like, do y'all want to know about like what is happening just like around the office, or do you care about company updates at all? Like, do you really benefit from hearing like what videos have come out? Because you're already on YouTube, presumably, most of you anyway. Some of you are listening, but you already know what's there because it's right next to the thumbnail of this video.
I mean, we talk about like when we're going to be like closed and stuff like that, but I don't know. We're kind of just curious what you all like to know, because we talk about plenty of other stuff and other things. Like, how helpful is this segment? I don't know. We're just,
because usually we just talk about like what videos came out and when we're having those mental health half days or like
Or
holiday
whatever,
closures or something like that. So
which is something. I mean, but
Yeah.
how important is that really? I don't know. So we want feedback on that. So let us know what we should do with this segment. Okay, that's it for that. Let's do Q&A.
let's. All right, we have got a question from Knight JRL,
All right, Night
who
Girl.
says, "Okay, wait, I have one that I really need answered.
Hmm.
I'm looking for my next 6th fountain pen purchased.
Ooh.
I feel like I've settled on the Pilot Falcon. I know you've jokingly dismissed the Pilot Metal Falcon in the past. That was me, I'm sorry. But truthfully, what are the pros and cons between the resin and metal versions? I do like the colors and looks of the metal ones better. I agree that the resin colors are a bit flat. But aesthetics aside, does one have any kind of advantage over the other?"
Yes. So I'm a little more pro Metal Falcon. I kind of stand more alone in that on the team. Not because people don't like it, but it's just like it's a bigger, heavier, more expensive version of the Falcon, basically.
The more expensive part is what gets me.
Well, okay, so we can talk about that,
Please.
but we'll save that. Wait till the end. It will shock you. We're just going to clickbait this whole video today. So just to get it out of the way, they write exactly the same. Like the grip section forward, nib, feed, all that is exactly the same on both pens. So you're not getting anything special there. So as far as writing experience goes there, it's going to be, I'll say, similar. They should write exactly the same because the nib and everything is the same, but I think that a heavier pen does change a little bit how you write.
I agree.
Just the weight of the pen itself, and how you might hold it might make it feel like a different writing experience. A heavier pen, like you're not going to get the same feedback throughout the pen because like any vibrations that may come through the pen from, like the harmonics of the nib rubbing across the paper, it's going to vibrate differently through a heavier metal pen than it would from a light resin pen. I don't know scientifically how big of a difference that particular aspect of it makes, but I know when I write with the two different pens, they feel different. So the nib like performance, like the way it looks on the page will be similar, but it may feel slightly different as you write with it, with the two different pens. So like me personally, I like the Metal Falcon and the way that it writes because it has more of that, like, I don't know. It's sort of like if you have a luxury car, typically they're going to be like really heavy and have really good shocks on it so that you get a smoother ride, as opposed to like a lighter, sportier car that may be more agile, but you're going to feel all those bumps. I don't know how accurate that is as a metaphor, but the difference in weight between the two is going to be the most substantial thing that you'll probably notice while you're writing. The Metal Falcon is 33 grams, that's body and cap, versus 19 grams for the Resin Falcon. So it's like 70% heavier. It's very noticeable. And it is more expensive. That's a thing. We'll talk about that in a second. But the colors, you got a sapphire, burgundy, and a black. I don't know why you would get the black, to be honest with you. It's not that special of a black, but the sapphire and the burgundy do look really nice. So those are both worth a look. The sapphire is like a lighter blue. I think sapphire, I think of like a dark blue, but this is really pretty light. But the burgundy is probably my favorite color of them. And then the other plus that you get is the body is slightly longer, which means that it can accommodate a Con 70 converter, whereas the Resin Falcon cannot. So that to me is a big plus, and it comes with a Con 70 as well. So I also think that is a plus. You may not, but whatever. Now, I guess if we're talking filling mechanisms, technically you can eyedropper convert a Falcon if you want to get a higher ink capacity. You can't do that with a Metal Falcon, or it's not advisable because typically metals, if they're not like corrosion resistant metals, may react with the ink, and it's not going to be good for the pen or the ink. So I would not eyedropper or convert the metal Falcon, but you get the Con 70 in there. It holds a mil of ink, so it's plenty of ink. So the price thing, Drew. Mm-hmm. So it used to be a much bigger price difference.
It was like over $100 more expensive.
It's not that way right now.
Really?
Yeah. The resin Falcon is $200.
Ooh.
The metal Falcon is $256. It used to be a lot more of a disparity between the two.
Did Pilot forget to raise prices on the metal Falcon?
I don't know what's going on.
Because I feel like the Falcon was like $160 for the longest time.
The prices have gone up, as with most everything.
$256 seems like the price the metal Falcon has always been at.
Unless maybe, I don't know how it is, maybe it's like a North America, US thing. Like maybe the metal Falcons are not as popular, so they haven't needed to produce them, so they haven't raised the price on them.
Okay.
I don't know, but at least for the recording of this video, there's not. I think that's a very acceptable.
It is
price difference. Like to me, I'm like, yeah, if you're more into the metal Falcon, that $56 thing is like for the Con 70 plus, the weight and
just more manufacturing.
Like that. I would say that is definitely worth considering.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Huh.
It used to be.
I'm a little shook at that.
I know. That's why I was like, okay. Saving that to the end there, because it's a bit of a, game changer maybe.
Yeah.
So it's still more expensive. So, you got to want it. But
my only other con with the metal Falcon is that it is pretty heavy. Like it like that is a heavy metal. It's not like aluminum. Like that is.
It is, but if you don't use it posted, which you can because it's a little longer.
Yeah.
If you don't use it posted, it's not that different.
For me though, when I write with that Falcon, I want it to be as light as possible because I feel like I want all the control with that nib. I feel like so many people push too hard on that nib.
Potentially.
And, I want to make sure that I'm going light almost at all times. Now, the colors are a huge win for the metal Falcon.
Yeah.
Huge win. Even though we don't carry the brown one anymore.
And the trim is rhodium trim instead of yellow gold.
Beautiful pen. And the colors on the regular Falcon are indeed quite flat.
Okay, so if you use the metal Falcon unposted, just the body only, it's 19 grams, which weighs as much as the resin Falcon posted. So if you post your resin Falcon,
so a lot
it's going to be the exact same weight.
In the cap.
Yeah, a lot of the difference is in the cap for sure. I mean, the body is heavier because it weighs as much as.
But I will write with a posted Falcon easily.
Yeah. So that means what? It would feel exactly the same writing with a metal Falcon.
I feel like none of my points have really they don't really hold water that much anymore.
Well, the situation has changed. We're living in a different world.
I will concede that metal Falcon is sounding pretty solid right now.
Maybe that's the age of the metal Falcon. Okay. Maybe it will rise from the ashes.
The metal Phoenix.
The metal Phoenix, yeah. There you go. So I appreciate that question, Knight JRL, and I think that probably a lot of people should consider metal Falcon who maybe have written it off before. So there you go. Glad you brought that to light.
Yeah, thank you. That's solid.
All right, Stacy Schultz asks, this is more of a question for the community. A poll, perhaps? Drew, you can get on that.
Yeah.
Does anyone else wish pen manufacturers didn't make their packaging so precious? I'd love it if the protective box a pen came in was simply recyclable, not a big to-do, like Benu and certain Lamis. I've actually considered not buying a pen because I didn't want another pen coffin. I do generally store my pen coffins because I figure I may not always keep the pen and will want to have a box to send it away in. I also hate the idea that I have to put it in the trash instead of recycling. I do recycle the simple boxes. I think this is a great question. It is very interesting. So I'm curious to hear your take on it, Drew, because there's a lot of opinions.
Yeah. So I will put on my consumer hat immediately and say, hey, Drew, in most cases, would you rather save $5, maybe $10 and not have a box at all? Yeah, absolutely. I throw all of mine away. I have a very small Sterilite box with a lid with all my pen boxes in there. There's probably 7. And I have over 40 pens, I think, maybe closer to 50. But yeah, I don't like keeping my boxes. I would gladly save a little bit of money and then just, maybe be a little kinder to the environment. So yeah, I'm all about that. However, I am also, from a consumer perspective, a sucker for theming. And, most recently, and you can find these on the coming soon section of our website, Esterbrook, or like depending on when it comes out, I don't know. Anyway, Esterbrook Esty, they're coming out with this collection called Back to the Land, right? And it is heavily themed. No surprise, this is what Esterbrook does. They had the Sweet Dreams pen. They've had other crazy pens. They've got these really well-themed pens with really custom packaging, a little ribbon tab that pulls out the pen from its drawer. There's a little prize depending on what color you get. It could be an ink sample, an air freshener, or a little wipey keychain for your nib. Then there's a free little, you pay for it, but a little magnetic clasp that you can put on your page to keep your pen attached to, but the pen is already in the package, attached to a little thing that I think has like a ruler on it or something. It's a whole thing, y'all. It's a whole vibe. It's a whole environment that they have captured in their box. That I am for. I love everything about it. I'm just a huge nerd for that. I want more of it. I love the themed boxes. But that to me is a win. Then you get something like the Peniter box, that kind of cheese wedge shape thing where they've got the pen filler that always falls down into the hole and shakes around. Like that one, I'm like, no, just if you can't, it has to be perfect. And it's so hard to get perfect.
Well, yeah.
And so in a way, I'm like 100% give me crazy packaging, but then the line is so fine where I'm like, oh no, just don't even bother. It doesn't take a lot, but I would absolutely. I think that if these Esterbrook pens, which are like blue, brown, and orange, I think, I'm not sure, green and orange, by themselves, they're neat, but it's the whole presentation that really kind of connects. You understand that they're a part of a whole. They are a part of an experience, a whole theme. They're part of a very cohesive collection. And packaging is a big, avenue way they kind of communicate that collection. So they have their moments. But as far as why they do it, I can also understand. And, in a lot of ways, I am pro packaging for these reasons. So presentation and branding, which I kind of just got into with Esterbrook, a lot of their presentation and their branding is surrounding their packaging. It's one of the ways they can express the story behind this pen or the story behind this collection. And a lot of folks do buy fountain pens, not only for their outward aesthetics, but their meaning, their inspiration, what they took in designing the pen, what they were inspired by. That means a lot to some people, and packaging can help with that. And then there's that branding aspect. If you pay a certain amount, let's say you're buying a $700+ Visconti Homo sapiens, and that thing arrives in a Lamy Safari sleeve, even if you don't think you care about packaging,
you do.
You're going to be a little disappointed by that.
You're lying if you say you don't. You do care. You do.
You're gonna
it's like a subconscious kind of psychological thing.
If you spend that much money, like you're going to be a little let down seeing it in a little cardboard nothing box. It needs to, and that's your first impression too. If you spend that's a grail pen for a lot of people. If you spend that money and you get it in, the first impression you get is like, oh, okay, this doesn't seem like a box for a $700 pen. Like then your mind is in a different place as you're unboxing and experiencing that pen for the first time. You're in a little bit more of a critical mindset. And then you might be disappointed in some other things that you're now just a little more hyper aware of because you're in that mindset. Whereas if that thing comes to you and it is like opening up the briefcase from Pulp Fiction, you're just like beamed in the face with an inexplicable yellow light of amazement, then the rest of the whole thing is going to be kind of basking in that light, and you're going to be in that positive mind space. You're not going to be in the critical, like, oh, well, what else is wrong? Or what else am I going to be disappointed by mindset, So it really does give you that, like, here is, even if you're not gifting the pen, which is a whole other thing, you're presenting it to yourself. Or Visconti or Montegrappa, they're presenting it to you. And it's like
first impression.
It's their last thing. Yeah. And we think about that here with our packaging too. We can sell you pens all day long, but if they arrive to you and you open up, you see that Goulet box and it looks like crap, and it's like you open it up and things are all very lazily packaged, that's the last thing you're going to remember. And we understand that. That's why we take care to package things the way we do, because we know that is the last moment. You're not going to remember how easy it was to use our filters on our website. You're going to remember what it was like when you got your thing. And it matters. It really does. And then, yeah, like I said, gifting. A lot of pens are still given as gifts. And most of the time when you're giving a pen as a gift, only, like, I don't know, probably less than 50% of the time you're giving it to a pen nerd that you know is going to like it anyway. A lot of the time you're giving it to somebody that you're hoping will like it, or you're commemorating something. And you want to have at least something that matches the event being commemorated, whether it's a birthday, a graduation, something. You want that. You're not handing them just the pen, you're handing them the box. And if it's a little, cardboard sleeve, then you're like, okay, well, trust me, it's a nice pen though, trust me. And then finally, protection. From a retailer's perspective, we have seen this matter. I think one of the best examples we have are the TWSBI boxes. We have seen the outer, the brown cardboard of TWSBI boxes get crushed, dented, smashed.
That's meant to be destroyed. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it does its job. And then the inner acrylic encasement, they're always fine.
Yeah.
That's a strong box.
That's actually the box.
And that's what TWSBI counts on. Like, yes, there's a bit of presentation that goes along with it, but it's also supposed to protect the pen. And it does. It does its job. And some of the times we've seen these things arrive and it's not pretty. So you want your pen to be well protected. And it's a bit of an insurance cost too from the manufacturer. If they're going to put their, think about it. How many big brands are shipping from the United States to the United States? Guess what? 0. Well, now I guess, some, but none of them are actually manufactured here. So all this stuff is coming from overseas, and they are sending, now granted, some things are boxed in the US. Anyway, most of the time,
stuff's getting shipped around all over the place.
All over the place.
This is the point.
Yes, and it needs to be well protected. If they're outlaying, a little bit more to have a more rigid box, they're gonna probably, recoup that and just kind of minimizing how many things, are broken. So for them,
you could put a Homo sapiens in a, Benu style box. Like that would be, the Benu boxes are very well protected.
So I did want to say that too. I wrote that down. All that said, it can be done. And I think Benu is a great example of that. Granted, Benu pens are much lighter than something like a Homo sapiens. You'd probably need something a little bit more, something that seals a little tighter. But Benu does a great job with that. We've never, to my, in my knowledge anyway, I haven't seen those boxes be completely destroyed. And those are definitely coming from overseas as well.
I've seen some crunched up ones.
Yeah.
But not
the pen's always fine.
Yeah. It's not in normal use that happens. It's like the whole box gets dropped off the truck kind of a thing. And the ones that are in the corner get smashed.
Yeah. So I can definitely, like, props to Benu. They know how to do it. They do it well. And you can recycle those things as far as I know.
For sure.
But also, so if I could have it our way, we could have all these Benu boxes. They're easy to stack. They're lightweight. They're small. But we're also an online retailer, and we don't have to display any of our boxes.
I think it's a big factor.
So there's that too.
Yeah.
So all in all, I totally get the appeal. As a consumer, 100%, I'm for saving a little bit of money and getting a box I can throw away. Retailer-wise, I get it.
Yeah, I think you have some good points there. I had some points as well. I think the huge variable in the pen world is in-store shopping versus online. We are an online seller. Packaging does not matter very much other than protection. And then like maybe that initial first impression, which you could make the argument that the first impression could be, wow, this box is so unnecessary and wasteful. How much of this pen did I overpay for? That could be a first impression.
I feel like those are usually displayed under glass though, right? In stores?
I mean,
like, I'm sure that there's not a bunch of just like Homo sapiens in stores just stacked, right?
No. But, when you buy it in a store, you're going to get the box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to like get the whole thing.
I've like never been into a pen store.
I've been into pen stores, but I've never like shopped at an in-person pen store because why would I? But
I'm just curious. I just haven't had the opportunity.
I don't think there's that many people that can, at least not in the US. But anyway, but we're online. But any global brand, there's it's going to be the majority in store shopping experience versus online, because it's, online is up and coming, but even across all sectors, most shopping is still happening in person,
especially
not
when
primarily
you
online.
take into account the big dogs like your Lamy, your Pilot, your Sailor, your
Absolutely, yeah.
Most of their stuff probably still gets bought.
It's definitely in stores. So like the physical presentation of it in its packaging matters a lot in those aspects, and they're not going to do like 2 different versions of it. So I do think that that's a big factor of it. I didn't do a deep dive, but I dipped my toe in the water around some of the psychology of packaging, because I went to school for business and we dabbled a little bit.
Gave yourself a foot bath.
Marketing psychology kind of stuff. It is very interesting. Yeah, a little foot bath. Yeah, exactly. So I read some online studies and stuff that, I don't know, take it for what it's worth. It's not gospel, but the stuff I found said that 72% of people say that packaging influences their purchasing decision. I assume that's like an in-person thing, but so that's not like pen boxes specifically, but just the way a product is packaged and presented. Think about if you go to shop for, literally anything at the store, the stuff that's in the nicer packaging is gonna look more appealing to you, and it sells more. It's a huge factor in sales.
I bought Blu-rays or 4K discs, and I've sent them back because I could tell that they were shrink wrapped after the fact.
Oh,
because by the website, and if you do that and use a heat gun, it kind of crinkles up the sleeve on the case that holds the little paper,
wow.
And you can tell. I'm like, nope, I purchased a new thing. This is not a new thing. Don't try to fool me. I'll send it back. Granted, does that affect the disc in any way? No.
Nope.
But I was like, no, I paid for something new. This is not new. You're getting it back. And then they sent me another one. I'm like, okay, guess what? Refund. Not having it.
That's an interesting parallel here, because you're right. It does not affect
certainly
doesn't affect your enjoyment of the movie, like the movie watching, or the physical disc, but it's literally just the packaging.
Yeah, but I do put it up on the shelf. So I'm gonna
you display it.
You're only gonna see the little tiny little end of it though.
Yeah.
So no, that's
so it's just because you knew it was there.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, what else did y'all do? Granted, I never actually tried to play it because I sent it immediately back. But
that's different. That's like somebody, a retailer did that to the product after the fact. That's not how it came from the manufacturer.
And if it didn't actually negatively impact the final product, I might not
probably
care.
Wouldn't care. Yeah.
But I'm like, you're wrinkling up the permanent part.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Maybe it's a separate thing, but I do think that there's a lot of psychology that comes into play there. Something else I read: consumers form their opinion of a brand within 7 seconds of engaging with the product. And after that, it is almost impossible to change that impression. So the reason why packaging is such a big deal is because we make snap judgments about a whole brand and what they're all about based on that initial interaction for 7 seconds. Think about that. It's crazy. We've done research on websites and stuff like that, your load times and your visual stuff on the website. It's insane. People make a judgment within a 1/10 of a second on a website and then will leave and never come back. So it's it's pretty amazing, but first impressions really, really matter. I say, let's see here. Fountain pens, it may be somewhat unique, because it's not like you're going into a store and looking at pen boxes and saying, ooh, I want that product. It's really the pen itself. So the packaging is kind of different in some ways than maybe some other products would be. And I feel kind of the same way. It's like when you buy, I don't know, when we buy camera gear and computers and stuff like that, that's these are expensive products, and it's some utilitarian packaging is fine, but when it's really, really good packaging, it hits different. It's oh yeah, this is it's a very intentional design, very intentional product. And then you make assumptions about they probably intended, a lot of things throughout this whole product and didn't just slap it together. So I do think that makes a difference.
It does. And I'm thinking about it now, when I have a box and it has one of those tab closures. It's the fold, and then there's the tab thing that goes into the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you pull off that tab.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them you pull it off and you see it's really thin.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you pull it off and it's thunk.
Yeah.
And there's that thick cardboard.
Or you pull it off and it rips immediately, and you're just it's a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
That feels very different than the thunky one.
I think about whenever I bought a new game console, those boxes are heavy duty. They always have that
Oh, yeah.
tab. You know, sometimes the tab even has like a little scoop out for your finger, you know?
Yeah.
Those are nice. I'm like, I noticed things like that.
It's like a whole experience, right?
Yeah. I'm like, this
Plus-
is good. Whatever is in here is going to be safe.
Plus, I will say, these days, there's a lot of like unboxings and stuff like that happen online. Part of the presentation is not just for the person that's buying the product, but it's for the unboxing experience. So you're like amplifying that first impression kind of a thing. So an argument could be made that first impression matters even more in today's environment than maybe it has in the past because of the reach that people have on social media.
I mean, I remember the first time I opened up a Visconti pen and it had a little pillow in it.
Yeah. Oh, you freaked out.
I was not ready for that.
It was very entertaining. Did you keep that? No, that wasn't your pen.
No, I don't even know what
you
pen
don't
that
have
was.
I don't remember either. It might have been no, it wasn't underneath those. Was it?
No, it might have been an Opera Gold.
Yeah.
Or it might have been
It was a lower end Visconti. Intro level Visconti. But anyway, that said, the first impression really matters a lot, but it's also very interesting because I read up that millennials in particular are actually desiring simple packaging, like stuff made of like paper and cardboard. In fact, are somewhat more likely to make a purchase of a product. This is not pens specifically, but are more likely to make a purchasing decision on a product if it is packaged in that like cardboard, paper kind of thing. I guess because we're a bunch of hipsters. So we want, stuff to come in like apple crates and cardboard and burlap sacks. But, what are you going to do? But I do think that's interesting. So I think like anything else, it's going to sway depending on preferences, depending on what's going on in the world and the economy and stuff like that. But it is a very interesting thing that we've gotten asked about a lot. We've observed a lot, especially because around here, like we're using pens all the time. I can't tell you how many pen boxes that I've gone through, and I'll save unique ones. Like I'll save one of each type of pen box that I have for a new brand. But, I have a lot of different pens that are similar. It's just the color's different or whatever. I'm not keeping all those boxes. Yeah. I would need like a whole storage room. So there is definitely waste in there, but at the same time, it does make a first impression and gives, so it's almost more of a marketing cost than it is a product cost, but it's not great for the environment. So what do you do? I don't know. It's a very interesting spot.
We have a pen we were working on recently, and we decided to go with the cheaper packaging option.
We did.
So Stacy, you can be happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
We were given the choice, and we're like, let's go with the cheap one. Save customers some money.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
We put our packaging money where its mouth is.
Yep. There you go. So I do think it's really interesting. I would love to hear y'all's opinions in the comments about this whole topic. I think it probably matters, like for pens in a certain price range, you're like, whatever, just give me the cheapest thing. But I'm like, if I'm spending, $500 plus on a pen, I'd like it to come in something that's like very sturdy, I don't know, even if I'm not going to use it very much. But then, I don't know. I don't know. I have mixed opinions on it myself, apparently. So what do y'all think? Let us know. All right. Next one.
Our friend Daniel Klopp.
What's up, Klopp?
Says, has a distributor or manufacturer ever asked Goulet pens to do final assembly, ergo install nibs? This seems to be a great way of reducing inventory cost, saving you from having to stock pens in every color and nib size combination. Or would your increased labor cost offset the savings in inventory cost?
Yes and yes. It's less us getting asked to do it from the manufacturer.
That's pretty rare. Yeah.
Again, going back to packaging and consistency and first impressions. I mean, I don't know how big, but we're among the more known online fountain pen retailers out there, but we're still just one of hundreds, if not thousands of retailers within a given brand or within a given distributor. I remember Lamy mentioned at one point they have, I don't know exactly the numbers now. This was like pre-COVID, I think it was, but they had 70,000 doors, I think it was, is what they called it. That's like how many different places that their products were sold in. 70,000. So we are one out of 70,000. So just imagine trying to communicate how to package something or how to assemble something to 70,000 different stores. Nobody's going to do that consistently. You're totally leaving your brand's reputation into the hands of who knows who's going to be assembling that stuff. So most manufacturers want to control that stuff and then ship out a final product. Some rare exceptions can happen. This is especially with much higher end products where there's extremely limited stock. And we'll deal with this sometimes where there are pens that have, relatively easily swappable nibs. It's a limited edition pen. There might only be a handful of them. We may be able to swap out a nib or maybe able to do something like that. But we're not getting batches of pens in and batches of nibs and then inventorying them separately and selling them, not on a regular basis. Now, I will say we used to do a lot more of that. And it was for the exact reason that you asked about, because it saved on inventory costs. Back in the old days, like garage days, Rachel and I had no money. I mean, you were there, Drew. We were eating peanut butter sandwiches pretty much exclusively and like spaghetti and all that. We never ate out, never vacationed. We had no money. We needed every dime we could to put back into the business. So when we picked up Lamy, initially, we de-nibbed all the pens so that we could swap the inventory and keep a lower count, because we were like, well, if we want to have the charcoal safari, rather than having, 4 extra fine, 4 fine, 4 medium, 4 broad, whatever, we could have, like 8 pens and then just take off all the nibs and then just swap it around and sell, so we could keep lower inventory costs, and then we can reinvest back into expanding our inventory.
And stickers.
Yeah, all that stuff.
We de-stickered the pen and the box.
That was crazy.
Carefully.
So that was because we took it upon ourselves to do that because we needed to save the money. Now, probably not with Lamy, because they were we were such small potatoes back then. It was ridiculous. We're still pretty small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. But back then, there was no special accommodation that they were going to do for us. So we had to basically get the final product in, de-nib it, whatever, and then do that just to save money ourselves. It absolutely did not save us on labor, but that's all we had was labor. We had no money. So we were like, well, we'll just work later into the night and do that and not spend that extra money.
Well, it was also part of our daily process. Once we got a couple hires,
Yep.
we had,
that was one of the lessons of learning what can scale and what can't scale in a business. Much like our handwritten thank you notes we used to do, much like all kinds of different little extra goodies that we used to do.
And now we know how much it takes to undo a process once it goes on for too long. Because when we did decide to stop swapping nibs on Lamy pens, we had to go and undo all of it, put nibs back on all these pens. Yeah. And
we had like a D-Day of nib stuff that we had
Lamy,
to cut over.
we did Kaweco.
We used to do Monteverde too back in the day.
Man.
We used to de-nib a fair number of pens for the sake of saving inventory, but it got to the point where managing that well was so difficult that the money saving wasn't worth it.
And there were some pens that you could only buy in particular nib sizes. So we ended up with an overabundance of certain nib sizes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. We ended up with hundreds of Lamy medium nibs because everybody wanted a 1.1 on pens that didn't come with a 1.1. So we ended up buying a whole bunch of mediums and then swapping it with 1.1s. And then we had all these extra mediums. And we were like, oh, we didn't really think this through. Yeah. What are we going to do with all these mediums now? So, I would say with some coordination from a manufacturer, it's possible some of that could be done, but there's no way that's practical to do down the whole like distribution chain. You're just leaving way too much up to chance. You're leaving way too much up to variables that are not within the manufacturer's control, where it's basically just not going to end up being worth it. So
it's always better to work within pre-existing processes, unless the processes are broken. Like they're there, and if they're well run, then that's the best avenue to ultimately serve your customers, because you try to change something up, even with the best intentions, and it can end up causing more problems than it's worth.
Yeah. Another thing I'll say too is that, it's all about economies of scale as well. Like part of the thing, you think about like, oh, we have these distributors in the middle that are just kind of taking a cut. Well, a manufacturer might be overseas, right? And they need to ship stuff to a different country. Well, if you ship it in its final packaging, for example, like Lamy or something like that, or, whatever it is, you can ship everything in its final packaging, but it's going to take up a fair amount of space. Whereas if you ship the pens in trays that are more tightly packed, and then you flat pack all those little Lamy boxes, it's a lot more efficient to ship them. So it costs a lot less money to ship them. And it can maybe be air freighted if it needs to and stuff like that.
And they don't get crushed.
Yes. And then when it gets to the distributor in the US, the distributor will do the final packaging before it goes out to retailers like us. So that is often a step that's kind of in the middle there, is the actual assembly and packaging. And the packaging might be different depending on which country you're in as well.
A lot of times they'll be the ones, putting on the nibs and adding the converters as well as putting them in the boxes.
It depends on the brand, depends on the distributor relationship and stuff like that. And so I will say, for them to do that, whether it's at the manufacturer or at the distributor level, think about if you're trying to say put nibs on a pen. If we did that, we got the pens in and did that, the way that we used to, we would have final packaging. We would have to unpackage everything, denib it, change the labeling, and then deal with it when it goes back out.
And we'd probably have 5 additional staff members here.
And yeah, it would be a lot of extra steps. And it would get to the point where the economics wouldn't even work out. But the extra work that it would take for us to do that, because we're not receiving the products in that kind of like bulk supply like that, like pens and trays, and then we can just like boom, like assembly line it. So for us to do it at the retailer level is way less efficient. It's much more time and labor than it is at the distributor or at the manufacturer level. So that's part of it too, is like for them to just say, oh, we don't have the time to do it, you do it at the retailer level. It doesn't work out for them either, because it costs us a lot more labor to do it at the retailer than it would at the manufacturer, because they do it all day long and they're very efficient. And then I will say there have been a couple of times where we have done this. We have done it because there's been some big launch, some big release, and it's been more of an exception, but we've worked out like a single, time here and there where they're like, okay, we can freight it to you and it'll be there in a week, or we can ship it by regular, truck, and we can flat pack it and, do it separately, and y'all have to box it up yourself. And it would make the difference between like us having it over a long holiday weekend or something and being able to launch it when other retailers launch it.
Yeah, because sometimes like being, on this coast, if we might be the last to get something.
Yeah, exactly.
So we would not have even been able to launch it with the rest of the country.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Or it's just like, when the holiday season is around and we want to get something before like the Black Friday weekend or something like that, it might be like, you just get it to us as fast as you can, because we want to at least package some of them and be able to start selling them, rather than you wait to package all of them, ship it to us, and then we've missed that big sales weekend. So there will be times like that even today where we might do that, but it's much more the exception, and it's much more like us doing the ask than it is the manufacturer.
Yeah, I think it's much more rare these days. I think these days the most we've done is like, add converters or something like that. Like,
yeah, there'll be little
actual like packing up things in boxes,
and like nibbing pens. No, we're almost never doing that unless it's like a nib swap or something that's a one-off. But yeah, we're rarely doing that kind of stuff on the manufacturer's behalf. So there you go. Hopefully a little insight there into how we do things. But
I think that was a little bit more than a foot bath.
Maybe, but that's okay. You get a, I don't know,
kiddie pool
calf massage along with the foot bath. All right. This is from Andres Rosales. I've seen a few posts on Reddit on pen shows, what to do, what to expect, etc. Since you guys are just home from the show, share your tips and tricks, what to avoid and what not to miss. We did just get back from a show.
We did. And we get asked this, about every year. And some years I struggle to put something together, but this year I didn't. I've got some things to say this year.
Okay. Because when we go to a show, we have a different experience than most people.
That's kind of what I thought. But then I said, you know what? Maybe we don't. More on that later.
Really? Oh.
More on that later, Brian.
Okay, teaser.
All right. So my very pragmatic recommendations here at the beginning. If you're starting off with your first pen show, start mid-size. Don't go to DC or San Francisco or Tokyo. If you're in the West Coast of the United States, I think Baltimore or Atlanta are great choices. If you're in the central U.S., then Chicago, I think, is my recommendation. As far as the West Coast go, I've never been to the L.A. show or the newer Pacific Northwest pen show, but maybe those, I'm not sure. Essentially, San Francisco, D.C., great shows, some of the best. But they can be overwhelming.
They're a lot.
They can be a lot to process, and you might leave kind of feeling like, did I do all I could do? I don't know. Just because there's a lot to do.
You'll never feel like you did all you could do.
So it's a weird feeling.
It's like going to an amusement park, and you're like, I rode like 7 roller coasters, but they have 24 of them here. Like, there's no way I could do all this. Yeah, you can't do it all.
Yeah. So I would say, and honestly, just to not get overwhelmed and like scared to go back, like sticking with one of the mid-sized ones is just a more comfortable experience overall for me anyway. So one of the best things you can do at any pen show is to engage the services of a nib technician face to face. Now, a lot of these nib technicians across the world offer websites where you can send your pen in, you can fill out a form, they can take care of whatever you have preset for you. You can correspond via email to kind of dial in, hopefully, what you're trying to get done. Face-to-face, though, is a completely different experience. It's so good to have somebody understand so quickly. Like these folks that do this for a living or even as a side hustle, they can tell how you're holding it. They can tell how you tend to rotate so fast, faster than you will even know yourself. And they can get you what you need. And it's a lot faster and easier to get your exact bullseye when you have one of those face-to-face interactions. So definitely try to engage the services of a nib technician. Even if it's just making your favorite pen perfect, that's worth it as well. Even if you're not trying to reshape anything or getting a different type of stroke, merely taking a pen you love and asking somebody to, hey, can you just make this perfect? You won't be disappointed and it'll be well worth your money, I swear. So absolutely that.
And on that line, if you go to a smaller show, it's going to be a little less chaotic.
Yeah.
Like at the bigger shows, they might book up like within the first 10 minutes of the show opening.
Before the show, because most of them take them in advance.
Oh, well, that's the case.
So like,
you got to be like on.
You don't even have a chance. Yeah. Once you find out there's going to be a show, you'll be like, oh, I wonder if there are any nib techs there. Oh, yep, they're all booked up except for Matthew Chen, who doesn't do that, which is great. Good job, Matthew. So I also say, please do take breaks, especially if you're at one of the big shows. Just don't push yourself. Don't try to eat it all. Even eating too much of a good thing can still make you sick, even if you love it. So
why are you looking at me?
Don't try to do it. Keep it happy in your heart and your mind by not completely, trying to take it all in at once, because you will wear yourself out. And then the feeling you'll be left with is not a pleasant one. And you don't want to do that to yourself. You're here to have fun. You're here to enjoy yourself. So relax, take a quality over quantity approach and enjoy yourself. Take breaks, chill out, go find a nice quiet area of the hotel or whatever to kind of relax and, pace yourself for sure. And then I'm mostly talking about your Cheerios, Brian, not your pen.
Oh, no, I got you.
Your pen show
I'm
approach.
Tracking. I was just thinking, like, when I go to pen shows, I have no chill.
I know.
I don't even arrange lunch anymore. I'm just like, I'll bring a couple granola bars and I'm like, I'm going to be standing up and talking to people for 14 straight hours and I'm just going to eat as I go.
No, I take it easy. I take breaks. I find a nice little quiet hallway.
I think that's where
chill, come back.
It's interesting because you are outwardly sometimes more outgoing seeming.
I'm very excitable.
You are more of an introvert than I am.
100%
like
introvert.
Drew needs more recharge time. I get more energized. I'm not as like gregarious naturally, but I do get more energized by being around crowds and other people. Yeah. So when I go to a pen show, it's like I'm kind of like getting fueled throughout the day through the interactions.
It's easy for me to be, I guess fueled might be the wrong word. Like I'm very excited at pen shows. I'm always so happy to be there, so happy to see people. And that might look like extroversion.
Right.
But it's just really excitement. Yeah. It's just, I'm a very giddy person. I'm a very passionate person. When I get going on things I am passionate about, it's hard to shut me up. But yeah, I need to take my breaks. And then Here's the thing that makes me think to myself, well, maybe we don't go for the same reasons. So in the past, whenever we've answered this question, we've always struggled in a way because obviously, apparently we go to engage with, customers, pen friends, vendors, even less of a goal to go buy stuff. And we're like, okay, well, what can I offer someone that is there to buy stuff? And then I thought, you know what? That might not be the primary goal for a lot of people. I think that a lot of it, even if you don't know it, even if you think you're going there to buy pens, what you end up taking out of it is a lot more than just buying pens, because it is all about connection. And I will say, make connection your goal. Sure, buy pens, get what you want to get, but make connection your goal. There are a lot of folks that I know were at this pen show where they're a fan of fountain pens, but they don't have friends that are a fan of fountain pens. They go there, and one of the most magical things about these pen shows is that you immediately can walk into a room of 1,000 people and know that you have something in common with each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Something that you don't have in common with potentially anybody in your normal personal life or work life. And that is an amazing thing. It shows us that we're not alone, that we are a part of a whole, a really great whole, if you ask me. And you can chat with anybody, and at least, even if they're not, super extroverted, you can engage with them and form a connection. So I will say, make connection your goal. Form a connection with a pen maker of some kind. Be curious. Ask them some questions. How'd they get started? Where they're from? Like, I can't tell you how many times, every time I have a conversation with Ryan Krusak, I find his pieces more and more incredible. And they look amazing, just looking at them. But then you hear him tell the story about like how he came up with something or why he did something the way he did it. And I'm like, oh my God, these are wormholes in this thing? That's amazing, But I wouldn't have found that out if I didn't actually have a conversation with him. So have those conversations. Meet a pen maker that maybe you've been kind of curious about or just met, but learn their story, learn the why behind their pens. And if you do choose to take one of those pens home, it's going to be that much more special to you. Even if it's a big brand, if you're curious about Visconti or Pilot, go walk up and talk to the people that are distributing them. They are just as cool, I promise you. And even then, you're going to know that, like, hey, next time I buy a Pilot pen, this person who might not be making the pens, but they are very much invested in getting these pens to the retail space across the U.S. Like, I have a connection with them now. And then, of course, find one person, one pen friend. Whether or not you're just kind of chatting it up, in the show space, or if you've kind of taken a break over in a hallway and you just ask somebody, hey, is this your first show? Make that connection. So if you talk with a maker, if you get a nib fixed, if you chat with, a vendor and learn something about the people behind some of these big brands, and if you just meet one new pen friend or make a connection with a stranger, if you do those 4 things, you have had a great pen show, in my opinion. I think and they are all connection based. And of course, buy a pen, but those connections are going to make what you picked up so much better. And I think that this whole industry is all about connection. Even if it's you connecting with the pen that you chose, the color of the pen, the nib that pen has on it, and the ink that you chose and the paper that you chose. That is all an intentional choice that you had in creating your writing experience. And I think that this whole thing is just an extension of that. So that is my suggestion to you. Connection.
There you go. It's all about the people.
Yes.
I just have a couple extra points. I think those are all very solid. As we were talking, I was like, yeah, you know what? Considering your own introversion or extroversion, I think should really be a big factor. It's very stark between Rachel and I when we go to a show. She doesn't go to most shows anymore because it just takes so much out of her. But when we would go to shows together, she would be out there for like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then she would literally have to go back to the room and take a nap because she would be so exhausted.
I know people like that.
Yeah, whereas I'm like bouncing off the walls and just loving every minute of it. So I think that will definitely play into how much you try to do at a show. If you know that like crowds overwhelm you and that it's just a lot to like socialize and talk to people, you need to like really plan your show approach differently than somebody who like just loves that kind of energy and wants to talk to everybody. So just know yourself and take that into consideration and just kind of own that and maybe plan accordingly. I think trying to research ahead of time, shows usually have websites where you can see who's going to be there and stuff like that. They're usually not amazing websites, but it's definitely pays to see like what kind of seminars are people going to have, because they'll be at certain times and you want to kind of like book your schedule around any of those classes or any of that kind of stuff, or Nibmeisters with grinds and all that. My other one is bring some cash if you do for sure want to buy some stuff. I did bring cash this year, but not as much as I probably should have, because I ended up coming across a couple of vintage pilots, which I'm going to show you today. And with vintage pens, it's kind of a purchase of opportunity. It's like they had these pens, I'd never seen them before. I don't know when I'll come across them again. So I was like, well, this dealer has it, and they were like, our internet is not reliable, so I can't take cards. I have to do cash. And it was like, oh, okay. And I was just shy, so I had to bum a little bit off and pay somebody back, but I otherwise may not have been able to get that. And there was an ATM there, but it had a $200 limit. So that's not that much depending on what kind of pens you're trying to buy. So definitely plan on bringing cash as a backup. Otherwise you might just, have to miss out on a pen. And
if you've ever been to a hotel, you know that they don't have the best internet.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever been to a hotel that I've been like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
What
this
speed?
Is on fire. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Last one I had was bring your own notebook and maybe your own bottle of ink as well. A lot of times they'll let you ink up pens and try them and stuff like that, which is cool. So especially if you're just going to the pen show for the first time and you get to write with different nibs and stuff like that, you're not going to remember any of that stuff by the time you get through the whole show. So if you have a notebook and you're writing with a certain nib and you're writing down what you like about that nib that you're using, you will then have that as a reference to go back and look at and take pictures too. We've all got phones. So if you really like the way something writes, like take a picture of it and then move on, because like you're going to get to try and reference a lot of stuff. So you're going to be able to gain like a lot of experience and stuff like that. But there's so much that's going to happen. You're not going to remember it all. So just try to capture that. So just having like a little notebook, like a show notebook that you can keep record of stuff is going to be super handy. That's my advice.
Solid.
Yep. All right. One more question.
All right. Number foof. Harmony Bat says, can you use a straight edge safely with a fountain pen?
As opposed
Also,
to dangerously.
There's a bonus non-fountain pen question for
bonus
Brian.
question.
Brian, any tips on getting a cranky anti-slip nut loose so I can check the P-trap for my beloved nib? Gee, thanks, hand spasm.
Okay.
So Harmony Bat dropped their nib
question
into the sink.
I can actually...
All right, let's talk about the straight edge thing. I have encountered like a situation where I'm like, I need to draw a straight line, but
sure,
here I have a fountain pen and a metal ruler. I don't think I want to do that.
Right. Well, especially like the most likely scenario you could be where that would make sense is if you are practicing your handwriting. You may have blank paper and you may want to draw lines on it to practice, writing stuff out. So should you use it? It's a calculated risk if you're using a metal ruler. I would say generally, probably don't do that. Not with a metal one. Wood one is fine. Plastic one is fine. I mean, the tipping on a fountain pen is pretty durable. You're probably not going to do anything immediate. But if you're drawing a lot of lines on that, that's a lot of friction. And that's a lot of potential to knock tines out of alignment. That's a lot of stuff. So I definitely wouldn't do it with a gold nib pen because gold is soft and you can definitely do some damage with a metal ruler on that one. If you got a really inexpensive pen, if it's like a Preppy or a Safari or Varsity or something like that, I mean, I wouldn't worry about it. Put it this way, if the ruler costs more than the pen, then go nuts. You don't have to worry about that. But I think even with a metal nib, if you're doing that to any significant degree, you're gonna do something to that nib. So I would say, maybe not.
I was just thinking what I did do because I have a metal ruler on my desk and I know I've used it and I'm just trying to think about what I do. And I do whenever I need to. It's only like once or twice. It's never like I never line a whole page or anything.
Yeah.
But I can kind of put my thumb against the ruler and drag my thumb across the ruler
okay.
rather than the pen. The pen sits
you're not-
out
you're not
about
dragging the
a
pen.
half an inch.
Okay, yeah.
So I use my thumb.
So this is more like a reference edge.
Yeah, so it's
for
probably
your
not
thumb.
it's probably not as exact as it would be
Sure.
drawing across a ruler, but like if you draw your thumbnail against the ruler and not the
Yeah.
pen, and you keep your pen fixed,
That's a good hack.
you can
That's
get
a
it
good
done
hack.
safely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good hack. You'd have to have kind of a thicker ruler, I guess. Like some of the metal rulers that I have used are like super flat.
It is, and I've jumped off of it a couple times because it
Okay.
is pretty thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a calculated
Yeah.
risk, but I mean that definitely is the safest way to do it because then you're not even touching it to
Yeah.
the ruler. So yeah, I think don't press hard too because I know that's the tendency too if you're using a straight edge is to like really jam that thing up against the straight edge. That's not going to be good for any nib. So even if you do decide to do it with a steel nib, just do it gently.
New exclusive product, Brian, the straight edge clip. All right. It's a plastic piece you clip onto the side of your nib so that you can drag it across your metal ruler safely. We can charge $10 a piece for them.
Ooh, I don't know that would be worth it.
But we'd only pay like 25 cents for them. Huge markup.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds
But we won't tell
very
anybody.
capitalistic.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. We could just like sell plastic rulers.
Everybody, no,
They're
we
like
need
a
to send the
dollar.
most. No, we need to sell like really dangerous
You need to, like-
metal rulers.
Okay.
Just kind of to
Like over-engineered,
Yeah.
overcomplicated kind of things. I got you.
Home
I
run.
gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so the short answer is yeah, you don't do it with a metal ruler, generally speaking. But it's also your pens, and you can do whatever you want. So there you go. There's your answer. Question 2, though, the more important one. Okay, so an anti-slip nut. I believe it's called a slip nut, not an anti-slip, based on what I was able to find. But I don't know all the terminology. But basically, you got a P-trap. So for those of you that don't know plumbing, you have your sink, which is where you clean your pens. And then it doesn't just go straight down a pipe into the sewer system because then all the sewer gases would come up there and reek and be noxious and not be good for you. So they put a dip in the pipe, and then water sits in that dip, and that acts as a natural barrier for the sewage gases.
I thought it was just for catching things.
Nope, not at all.
Well, there we go.
I mean, it does catch things, but the reason it's there is so that you don't have noxious sewage fumes coming back up into your home.
How about that?
So they have that with toilets, and they have that with sinks as well. So it's called a P trap because it looks like a P that's like kind of laying down, I guess. Even though it's not closed, it's more of a
It's like a U-trap.
B or a D or a U
Yeah.
or whatever. It's called a P trap because that's what it is. Anyway, so I guess if you dropped your nib down in there, hopefully it didn't like get flushed past the P trap because that could happen because the nibs are not super heavy. So it may be gone forever, unfortunately. But if you wanted to try taking apart the P trap, you can do that. So there are different types of P traps that are made of different materials. So your approach may be different. I don't have enough details to give you the hyper specific advice, but basically, the slip nut is just, you have like 2 metal or plastic pipes usually is what it is. And they have like a flange on the end, and there's some kind of nut that like screws onto it that like seals it up with a gasket so that it won't leak. And then you unscrew that to then be able to take the P-trap off. So you don't have to take the plumbing off the sink. You don't have to take it off the pipe that's coming out of the wall. That P-trap has usually got 2 of those nuts, and you can just remove the P-trap itself. So usually it's either plastic or metal. Plastic ones, pretty straightforward. You just grab a big enough pair of pliers, and then you grab the nut with the pliers and you unscrew it. Usually,
Some of them have little wings on them too.
The plastic ones usually have wings on them. So I'm guessing this is probably a metal one.
Yeah.
Because
I have no experience
they're-
with metal ones.
They're usually pretty big because you're talking like 1.5 inch, maybe 2 inch pipe.
Mm.
And then the nut is going to be bigger than that. And they're usually not like super hard edges. They're pretty rounded edges, and it's really easy to just be able to, slip off of them. But basically the answer, I mean, I'm not a plumber, so there may be some specialized tool that I'm not aware of. But as far as I know, you just need a big honking pair of like, kind of like vice grip plier type things, kind of with teeth on them. And then you just got to grab onto that thing and then just open it up. But
You wouldn't use a basin wrench for one of those, would you?
no,
No.
basin wrench is for like faucets.
Yeah.
So you need something bigger, but it shouldn't be that hard to open up. But I mean, if it's been a
It's
long
cranky
time,
though.
and it's been
It's
if there's,
cranky.
like gunk that's built up in there and stuff like that, who knows? But that would be the way to do it. Or you could try fishing it out of there through the sink drain would be another option.
Too bad a magnet wouldn't work.
That was going to be my question. Do you know if nibs are magnetic?
If it's gold.
But gold is an alloy. It may still have, it's got some like nickel and stuff like that in there. If it's magnetic, it's not going to be very magnetic. I don't know. I just realized I meant to test that before we did the Pencast here. It's like, I don't know if they're magnetic. Generally, stainless steel is not magnetic, but it also might depend on the alloy. So I don't know. That's probably not going to be a reliable way to go about it.
I honestly can't think of a nib that I'm confident would be heavy enough to stay in a P-trap.
That would be tough.
Like
unless
it's like I've even heard of rings not getting trapped in the P-trap. Like if a ring can make it out of the P-trap, a nib definitely can.
It definitely could.
So I don't know if it's like if
you're
having a hard time, if you're worried,
like a bunch of hair and gunk in there and it gets caught in that.
Yeah,
if you get lucky.
If you've got a spouse that routinely puts spaghetti down the disposal, then you might have a nice little nib cushion down there, just waiting to capture an errant nib.
Let me tell you, I've pulled some creatures out of my kids' bathtub drain.
The spaghetti is a true story.
Oh yeah.
But I will say that if you're having a hard time getting it off and you're worried that you might not be able to get it back on, then maybe just kind of like, pour one out for the old nib.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, can you use a like wet dry vac or something and try and like suck it out of there?
I don't know
if that would work, but I don't know.
That might make a mess.
I don't know if any of y'all have any more tips about that, but that's kind of all I got. All right. If you have questions for us, you can leave questions in the comments here on YouTube, or you can email us at pencast@gouletpens.com if you're an audio listener. And now we are going to spotlight some of the pens that we got at the DC Pen Show. So let's do that. All right, I got all kinds of stuff. So if you did watch me talk about this last week and not show you, these are the two pens that I got. These are both vintage Pilots. That's kind of like the only thing that I was going to the show thinking I might buy. So the first one that I had here, this is actually BK that got me into this one. So this one actually extends.
It's telescoping.
Yeah. So it's called the Pilot Short. But, it's got like a recognizable kind of Pilot look to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But you can like extend it. So you can write with it long, you can write with it short. You got options. And I just thought the technology was neat. And it's blue, which is cool. So not a huge spend, but
steel nib.
It was fun. I think it's gold, actually.
Really?
I think I need to check on that. But it was fairly reasonable price. I think it was like $100 or something. So not too shabby, but I just thought it was really neat. I love having pens with interesting technology in them, because then when we have interesting people like hearing from Magna Carta, or I talk to like Ian Schoen or somebody like that, I'm like, hey, you got to see this weird pen thing.
Yeah, who knows what they can get inspiration from.
Exactly. So I find it inspiring, and I like to have it on hand to show other people in the industry. The other one I got here, this is an old school Namiki capless. So like predecessor to the Vanishing Point.
What does it say on the sticker there?
It says 2,000 yen.
Oh.
So they left the OG sticker on here. So this is fairly original condition. No packaging or anything on this one. So,
what decade do you think that's from?
I don't know. I probably could pull the nib out of this thing and see if it's stamped or whatever with the date on it. But I don't know. I don't know exactly what. I think it's like mid-late 60s.
I think the older Pilots have a different sort of dating mechanism.
Yeah.
So it's like a code. Like you'll see the one that I have, my Elite, it doesn't have the traditional dating method.
Yeah. Okay. So I may need to do more research on this, but this was like in the moment I saw it. It was really cool. This is the one I had to borrow some money for because I didn't have enough on me. I'm not going to say how much it was, but it was too much. But I thought it was really, really neat. But you can see it's got like the trap door there, which is pretty exposed. And then it just clicks open like that. It doesn't like push back as it clicks. So you kind of click it out and then it's just like, that's it. So it's like, oh, okay. I'm like, ooh. But I'm probably never going to ink this thing up even. I want to keep it fairly pristine. But then, yeah, you just push on it again and it comes back.
How about that?
Mechanism's a little stiff, but it's old. So not total surprise.
Can you eject it one more time while I look at the front?
Yeah.
Hang on. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
There we go.
There it is.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I was like, that's cool. I have a huge VP collection, and I just thought this would be really cool to have for historical reference. So that's what I got. I had never seen this version of it before in person. So I was like, this is neat. I want to be able to reference that. So added both of those to my collection. And then that was all what I talked about at the show. And then after that, I spent a lot of time talking to Ian Schoen. And I got some more Schoen pens.
Oh my goodness.
4 of them to be exact.
4 of them.
Now, I would not have bought 4 of them if I was not like in the business, because I bought these as prospective ones, maybe for us to consider carrying. Mm-hmm. So this is not just me liking the pens, though that is definitely the case, but it's also ones that I thought would be interesting to get some feedback on, because Schoen is a brand that we have been, developing with. Schoen basically sells direct on everything, hasn't done a lot of retailer relationship stuff, but Ian and his team are awesome. They're working on some really innovative stuff, and they've been moving their facility with much drama for the last year, basically. So they've been pretty limited on their capacity. So I was talking like, hey, if we wanted to carry something as like a more regular item, because we were talking about doing more exclusives and stuff. We've done a couple with them that have been successful. So I was like, if we were going to do some more regular stuff, what would that look like? So that's kind of what these are. So these 2 are fairly conventional. They're just the Pocket 6, which we've had plenty of. But this is in copper, and this one is brass. These are the faceted ones. So we have done our own faceted Pocket 6s before, which cost more because it's a lot of machining. They also have smooth versions as well, which, it's the raw metal. You get the patina and all that kind of stuff. The faceted is definitely cool, but it's like over $100 more to get the faceted, understandably, because it's a lot of time. But that's it. It's got a number 6 steel nib on it. Pretty neat.
Beautiful.
Pretty straightforward, but it's in like the $250 range. So it's for the faceted ones. No, it'd be like probably $100 less without the facets. Mm-hmm. So us internally, our team, were like, I don't know if people would be interested in that. So I'm definitely curious to see what y'all think about these. Basically, if you go look at Schoen Design website and see what the prices are there, ours would be comparable to that. So you can get an idea, because there's a lot of different like versions and stuff that you can do on their site. But we are considering carrying a more regular model, but I just don't know. I just don't know if the demand would be there for these for us to do that. This one is blue, so I like it.
This one is probably the one that you bought more as a consumer, less as a business owner, I'm thinking.
Maybe. Well, they had this one in the full size here, and then they had it in a Pocket 6 as well. But I was like, I have a bunch of Pocket 6s. Let me get one full size one. But the Pocket 6s are like way more popular. But the same design. So like the anodization that Schoen does is like out of this world. I mean, it's like nothing else. The only challenge with that is it's pretty much like a one and done batch. Like it's almost impossible to replicate out of a given batch. So he's got like maybe, I want to say like 20, 25 of these in the full size and in the pocket version. So that's a potential one. I don't know, again, if the demand is going to be there. I don't know what the price would be on that, but probably in like if it was a Pocket 6, probably in like the 165-ish, 180-ish range maybe. And then the last one is the one I'm actually most intrigued by and interested in. This is made of Ultem. So if you don't know what Ultem is, I will not be the one to best explain it to you just yet, because it's a newer material to me. But I know that is a material that is known in the everyday carry world, and it's a more industrial kind of material. It's very corrosion resistant. It's very impact resistant, very chemical resistant.
Mm-hmm. Heat resistant as well.
Heat resistant. So this is like its natural form. It's kind of this like yellowish, amberish kind of color. So this is like like the more natural kind of raw Ultem. But it's light. It's like any other resin pen, except it's going to be extremely durable. And I guess those who like Ultem like this aesthetic, because that is just naturally what it looks like. He also has a black Ultem, which looks pretty slick, but it also just kind of looks like black resin.
Yeah.
It's Ultim, but it looks like black resin. So those who are into black Ultim know that. So you can check out Ian's site if you want on that. But this is something that we may actually consider. So I don't know. This one's going to be, it's expensive. It's hard to work. The materials is expensive. It's going to be over $200, I think. But if that is something you're interested in, you basically can't find pens made of Ultim like anywhere. So we thought it was really neat and may do it. So be on the lookout for that maybe. But I definitely want feedback from you all in the comments about all these pens. If you like them, if you think the prices are reasonable or not. But definitely check out Shown Design's site because they have so many cool designs and cool pens. And if you order directly from them, you know, we don't get a kickback or anything. I'm just giving free, you know, just talking good about a good company. You can buy direct from them and you can get like one-off kind of stuff and customize it and all that. There's a lot more options if you buy direct from them. Anyway, that's what I got at the show.
That is a solid haul.
Right? That was I didn't go too nuts, maybe a little nuts on the show and stuff, but let's check out what you got, Drew.
So this is the Elite that I talked about at the DC show. Didn't get to show it close up, but
nice.
Both of these were gifts, and I'm just absolutely spoiled as, you know, I kind of wrap my head around that. So it's just got a very smooth cap, not unlike the E95S or the Elite.
Anything. It's just
no, it's definitely got like one of those. It's got those bars. I don't know if you can see that on the inside, but
not really.
No,
a little bit.
It does have the
it's got E95-esque.
Exactly.
Yeah.
E95-esque.
Oh,
nice.
I didn't even mean to do that.
So
does it click at all, or is it like
no click?
So it's like the E95S, or it just slides and stops.
Well, there's a little bit of a no, it's not. No click.
It's not a click. It's just a stop.
No, but a very deep post too. So I really love that.
Man, Pilot just kills it with that.
I know.
So good.
But it is a very inlaid nib. Like look how low intake hole is.
That looks like the Pilot the silver, the sterling silver ones. That's just got the same kind of setup.
So that is
like
very
not
cool.
Focusing on the nib because it's like this is just
a
vacuous dark mass in the middle of the
anyway,
screen.
it's right there at the very tip.
There we go.
And then it's got a really unique nib because not only does it have a breather hole, which is a nice kind of interestingly oval shape.
Yeah.
But it's got a second cutout.
What is that?
Below the imprint.
A little crescent.
So I'm guessing that is to increase flow or to help regulate flow.
It's not a filler hole because that's what the thing on the back of the pen is.
Yeah. So that's really interesting to me.
That is interesting.
Now, Brian K. did help me date this pen. It's like from the late 70s.
Okay.
So, it is definitely older.
Neat.
But
look at Pilot doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much Pilot history that like we just don't even know.
Blows my mind.
That's why I enjoy going to the show. I've literally never seen any of the three of these pens.
Yeah, I see new stuff every year. And then this old Schaefer was given to me as well by a person who started restoring pens.
Neat.
And this is my only Schaefer pen.
Okay.
I do not own another Schaefer.
Do you know what model this is?
I do not. It was.
Ooh, a quiz in the comments.
He might have told me, but I did not hear. But he re-sacked the pen, so it's completely restored. The nib looks great. I haven't inked it up yet, but one of the things I really love about the vintage Schaefers and Watermans, a lot of the older nibs just have imprints that cover the whole nib in words. And I just love that. It gives it such a cool vintage flair.
Oh, yeah.
And
it looks like it's some from the World's Fair.
Yeah, I love that look. And there are a lot of nibs now that do have really beautiful, complicated imprints, but they're all designs and swirlies. It's a very retro thing to just cover it in words and language.
Right.
You don't see that very much anymore.
No, you don't.
So that is pretty cool. It's a lever action. So this little thing right here is going to depress the bladder and then refill it.
Cool.
It's a smaller pen, but it's not.
I'm trying to remember the name of this model. It might be the PFM. I'm not sure.
It might. There's a good amount of wording here.
I was gonna say there's enough words on this thing. There's got to be something somewhere.
Can you see anything there?
It's like not wanting to focus very much. Let me see if I can see with my actual eyes. No, Schaefer Pen Company, Fort Madison. It's got the patent number, but it does not have the model.
Yeah. Anyway.
No. So, but this, I want to say that this model was loosely our inspiration for the Premiere.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because we saw the ends on this one and we were like, that's kind of neat. Not trying to like rip it off or anything, but this thing is long, vintage, long, not made anymore. But this is sort of the cigar, like pointy cigar shape that we inspired the Premier. Little fun fact.
So I'm very happy with both of them. I
That's
can't wait.
that's why I
can't
would
wait
like to remember what the model is,
Yeah.
because it's like that is what we, found inspiration from. I think it might be the PFM. I'm not
that's
sure.
it.
Cool. All right, that's it for our pen hauls. Now let's talk about nonsense. All right. Well, Drew, what's happening?
Well, let me first say, because we've been asked to continuously update everybody on what we're writing with, and nothing has changed.
Oh boy.
I still have the same 3 pens inked up. I've got my Pilot Stargazer with Robert Oster Bondi Blue. I've got my 912, my Pilot 912 with Roshizuku Yamabudo. And then I have my Kaweco Lilliput in green aluminum, all inked up with Rohrer and Klingner Old Goldgruen. So same old, nothing new there. But I spoke to somebody at DC, and they're like, I don't care if it's the same stuff. I still want to hear. I want to know what y'all got going on. So there you go. I will probably keep those for a while, though I do have some things on my wish list. I want to pick up the new blue Lilliput when I get around to it, and I want to get that brown Schaefer coffee edition as well. The coffee brown. One of them's coffee, one of them's coffee brown. I think it's just the coffee edition. That's the new one.
I think it's called coffee edition.
So anyway, Saturday morning, something wonderful happened, Brian. We woke up, and Shannon slept in. Archer and I just had whatever.
Which is it? Did she wake up or did she sleep in?
She woke up after she slept in. Archer and I were up
usually how it goes.
earlier, and we just had random scroungy breakfast. But she wakes up and she's like, I want Waffle House. And I said, darling, I've never been more in love with you. This is a magnificent thing for you to say to me right now. So we had already eaten, so we had kind of like a late breakfast, early lunch. I think we went out at like 11.
Like a brunch, perhaps?
But yes, brunch at Waffle House. So not only did we go out for a delightful jaunt over to Waffle House, but when we were there, we were taking some just selfies because we were just living it up. And our server came over and was like, whoa, y'all need some hats. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am, Waffle House hats? And she brought out these paper hats, and we all put on some Waffle House hats. I'm like, I've been coming to Waffle House for a long time. I've never been offered any hats. And she says, well, we're usually out. So, because, I don't know. At first, I thought
you were going to say, well, we usually give them to children.
Well, I also joked, and I said, when I come here by myself and I'm sitting at the bar, like, I guess I must not be exuding I want hat energy. Because
your shirt's got some I would wear a hat kind of energy.
I would wear a hat. I did wear a hat. It was amazing. So not only did we get a picture with us with the hats, our server ran over. She's like, "Oh, give me!" And she popped in. It was like, boom! So we got a selfie with everybody. It's nothing. We go to Waffle House pretty frequently. It's not like this is a celebration or anything, but we just love it. The food was great. We had a wonderful time, and breakfast food is magical. So everybody knows how I feel about that.
Well, I was going to say, even if you don't go to Waffle House regularly, it's probably not the type of place you'd be inclined to take a picture of yourself there.
It made me happy, and I wanted to capture the moment. So yeah,
fair enough.
It was delightful. So, and then we just kind of ran some errands. I think we might have stopped by Target or something. I forgot what we got there, but and then I got home and it was a little overcast. So I was like, okay, I need to trim the hedges outside the house, and because they were way overgrown. All the bushes had like shoots of, random offshoots of long twigs poking out of them. And then I have a larger tree bush thing that's threatening to cover up a window. And our HOA says basically they leave us alone. I haven't even met anybody from the HOA, but we get a letter once a year saying they're doing a walk around, and they just say like, hey, shrubs cannot be up to your windows. So I had one that I'm like, if this grows any taller, I'm going to need a ladder to do it. And I'm like, nope, never doing that.
That's more work.
So I cut the thing down to pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
And if it comes back, great. If it doesn't,
if not, then problem solved.
Yeah. So it's down to just a bunch of naked twigs. So
it'll probably grow back.
We'll see. It probably will. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it was just like, once I was like, I got up in it and with the loppers and pulling these things out, it's like just all twigs with like a little bit of leaf right there at the end. I'm like, it needed it bad. It was stretching too far. So got that done. Of course, when I went out there, it was overcast, and then the sun came out, baked me for the entire time. And then when I was finished, the sun went away again. So it was just that was really irritating. But I got it done, and then I treated myself with the small family to a viewing of Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, the most recent Ghostbusters movie. So we all watched that together.
Know that was what it's called.
Yeah, the first one was Afterlife. Well, the third movie, but
how many have they done now? 5?
It depends how many. It depends on what you count. Technically, there have been 5. Yeah.
How many have they made that have been called Ghostbusters?
5.
That's what I would count.
5,
okay.
But there have been 4 in the same continuity.
Okay.
So
well, why would that not? Why would the 5th one not be?
Well, because
considered one of them.
Well, no. The third one is considered not one of them because
Okay.
the third one is not in the same continuity.
Not in the same like storyline,
Right.
or timeline, or whatever.
The third one was the one with like Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, and
Okay.
that one doesn't like.
Is it like Clone Wars and Star Wars?
No, that's all sequential.
No, I'm naming the wrong one. I shouldn't have brought this up. I don't know Star Wars well
No,
enough.
like that one was like a reimagining.
Or like Solo, like Han Solo, like that.
That was that. That's all. That's all
Tag on
canon.
it.
All the Star Wars
I
stuff
haven't
is
seen
connected.
any of these.
Like pretty much, unless
They're
it's
all connected.
Unless it's Lego or something, it's all connected.
Okay.
Yeah. But like no, the one with the female cast is kind of just a reimagining. But
Okay.
1, 2, 4, and 5 are all sequential.
Okay.
Like Bill Murray plays the same character in all 4 of them.
Okay.
And then in the Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, when he has a cameo as like some other guy.
Okay.
So anyway, that was fantastic. It was delightful. Love the movie. Good time. Finished my third playthrough of Witcher 3. Loved it. Amazing game. Loved it even more. And that's it's telling when you replay a game, especially a long narrative game.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting better. Like I love that so much.
I've
done that.
Your word for
I've
it.
done that recently,
Never
and I'm
done
like, oh no, I like this game less now, and it's a shame. But good game is a good game forever. So that means I'm able to start on my new game, which I've been kind of sitting on since Father's Day because I was still in the midst of Witcher.
Yeah.
So I started Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Ooh.
So Final Fantasy VII is from like the mid to late 90s, PS1.
That's typically talked about as like the best one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, very typically.
Okay.
And they.
So I know something. I've
You're
never
right.
Played
You're
one
right.
minute of Final Fantasy, but
You would hate it, I'm sure.
it's not my kind of game.
No, it's like one of those take turns sort of games, or it was. The new version's not like that.
Yeah.
They're remaking it like with amazing graphics, voice actors, obviously, which they did not have in the 90s.
Okay.
And they're breaking it up into several games.
Oh,
so
wow.
they're really stretching it out.
Milking it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a bigger game because the other game was like 4 discs long, but because those were on CDs, so they had to be 4 discs, and all the dialogue was done just by text.
Yeah.
Now with like actual like full motion cinematic scenes, it has to be bigger.
It's crazy.
So this is the second of probably 3 games that they're gonna do.
The second of 3 rebirth of the 7th.
Yes. The first one was just called Final Fantasy VII Remake. This one's called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The other one's going to be something, I'm sure.
Okay. Wow.
Retiring. I don't know. But it's been so good, man. Like I have such a fond memory of this game. Like I have above my TV, I have a big, print of the airship from Final Fantasy VII. Like I love this game so much. I've played it so many times, and just seeing these characters as like real people, not like funky jagged pixels. It's kind of like watching a live action adaptation of a book you really like, and all of the characters look exactly how you pictured them.
Oh, interesting.
Because that never happens, right? You watch a live action adaptation of a book or something, and you're like, oh, that's not how I pictured them. But this one, it is, like, because it's not.
Well, it already exists. Visually,
but you look the models that they had in the 90s was like big old polygons, big old polygons.
Absolutely.
And now it's like, there he is. He's real, or as real as he can get.
They have round parts.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really it's a really fun experience for me. And hearing the music and everything. And I'm going to go to the Richmond Symphony in October to hear the music from this game.
Oh, that's going to be good.
It's got such an amazing score. So I'm really excited.
Cool.
Just being back in this world, I'm like just loving it.
You mentioned Lego. I was like, what about a Lego Final Fantasy?
Lego's doing everything
that feels
nowadays.
like that would be a good matchup, wouldn't it?
And Lego most recently is doing like a kind of like a what if Star Wars thing where they've got like Darth Jar Jar, being a thing.
Okay.
So they're really going off the rails, but I kind of love it.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And then on Sunday morning, I got together with my brother and we went to see the new Deadpool Wolverine movie,
Okay.
which is breaking records left and right for, it passed the $1 billion point recently, which is crazy for an R-rated movie. It's
crazy.
I think
Crazy for any movie.
I think right now, like the only things that have, are still up there is like Passion of the Christ is up there because that was R-rated. And then I think Joker, the one with Joaquin Phoenix, is still up there, but it's blown up.
Wow.
And it was a crazy movie, man. It was
I
like
guess the Marvel movies are not typically
R-rated.
R-rated.
No,
Yeah.
no,
'cause then
only
kids couldn't see them.
only Deadpool, from what I understand.
Okay.
Deadpool, and if you go over to DC, they did Suicide Squad and Joker.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But as far as Marvel, though, I think they only have Deadpool 2, and then this one. But it was so funny. Like they had so many references to like the Fox generation of superhero movies, like the original X-Men movies and things like that. But before the Marvel Cinematic Universe got created.
Right.
So there was a ton of jokes there. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking, which is what Deadpool does. Couple Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman references even. So
nice.
Total just, it was hilarious. I was smiling like the entire time. It was a lot of fun. The intro scene was also just like, I'm smiling so much my face hurt.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then I get out of the movie and I see a picture on my phone of my son at our friend's house. I knew exactly where he was because he was with a baby golden retriever. And I was like, oh, they went over to see the new puppy of our friend's house. So Shannon was dropping him off to play with his friend.
Get a new puppy.
Oh my God, he asked.
That'd be great.
Oh yeah, four dogs. Yeah,
4. That's what you need.
Yeah, everybody's like, oh, I like your carpet. That's not carpet. That's dog hair. That's what it would be. And so she dropped him off to play. We went to pick him up later, so I did get to encounter the puppy, even though it was sleeping. Just it's a floppy pile of puppy, but. Oh my goodness.
Golden Retriever puppies are
dude,
adorable.
I thought about it. I'm like, if Brian and Rachel ever did get a dog, like I could see y'all with a golden retriever
would be good. Yeah.
Like that, it's probably my second favorite breed. Like they are just,
they're known as like the friendliest.
They are just
most
amazing.
Loyal. Yeah.
Oh, terrific. So
yeah,
that was just a treat. I've never actually been able to encounter a golden retriever puppy.
Really?
IRL. No.
Yeah.
So that was quite amazing.
Nice.
So that was definitely like, I got to see a movie, 2 movies, 2 full movies, video games, some errands, some outside stuff, puppy times. It was a good weekend. It was a solid weekend. Yes, sir.
Solid.
Yes, indeed. And I did bring in my kumquat tree for a couple days because we had that big storm. So things are good. Didn't drop any quats. So right now, I think I'm gonna have about like 10 little fruits on there. So we're doing good. They look like little baby limes right now. So it's happening.
Nice.
And then we're at our last week of camp before my son starts 5th grade.
What?
So yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, you're right there with me. Next week is when it all begins.
Yep, that's right. Back in the fray.
I know
of all the school and driving and all that kind of stuff.
I've done my best to keep him journaling over the summer. I got him this thing called the Big Life Journal, and it's about kind of it's a little bit affirmations. Hey, what's one thing you did today that you were proud of, or stuff to get him thinking. I'm just trying to keep him writing because he's still, even at 5th grade, like we're working on making the letters the right height. And it's just, he just rushes. And no matter how often I try to get him to do it, he just doesn't want to. Like he doesn't take any, enjoyment out of it. And it's so hard to get him to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't have to enjoy it. I just don't want you to get back into 5th grade and like forget how to
not have legible writing.
Yeah. So I tried, but I still don't feel like I did enough. But
it's tough.
Yeah. But again, it's like, enjoy your summer, bro. Like it
goes so fast.
Yeah. So I'm not going to I didn't want to push him too much. It's basically whenever I thought about it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. But it's going to happen.
Wild. Today
at his camp, they're doing like inflatable water slide day.
Oh,
they rent like 3 different ones. So
I remember our kids had that back when they did like the summer camp thing.
it's
Yeah.
cool. It's nice when I show up there. I'm like, okay, that's where my money's going.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Right? Yes,
Because
exactly.
some days I'm like, oh, what are y'all doing this week? Okay.
Yeah, right.
This one I'm like, all right, good. I
Yep.
paid for that.
That's right.
Excellent.
That's right. That's good
So
stuff.
yeah, we'll have one more weekend and then waking up and moving out
Yep.
same time. Whew.
Yep. Oh man.
What about you?
We'll be in that same boat, except our kids are now in 2 separate schools again.
Oh.
But at least the middle and high school are close to each other.
Yeah.
But they have the same start and end time, and they're going to be separate pickup lines. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work. But,
We'll find out.
at least the school has sent out very little information about it.
Oh, yay.
So we are left to wonder. Rachel's left to wonder. I'm like, whatever, we'll figure it out. Like, the kids have to get picked up somehow. They're going to have to manage it. So we'll figure it out. And she's like, I need to know exactly how this is going to happen. I'm like, yeah, we got different standards for what it means to know something.
Yeah, this is my last year of driving him to school, I think, because it's,
Really?
the middle school is going to be not
Too far.
too close. I mean, not too far. Like, I can still do it, but
So we drive our kids. We carpool, especially since COVID, because we live in a fairly rural county. We got, it turns out they are actually, last year they did not have a bus that came in our vicinity
really,
at all.
that's a thing.
We would have had to like drive to like another neighborhood and like then see them off on the bus. So they have a bus that's coming to our road, but they showed us the times that they get picked up. It would be an hour and 10-minute ride in the morning on the bus and an hour and 15 minutes in the afternoon.
What?
So our kids would get picked up at 7:37 in the morning and not to get home until 5 o'clock.
5?
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, it's like a 15-minute drive to get to school. But I was like, yeah, our kids would spend 2.5 hours on the bus every single day.
Oh, gross.
That's not,
no.
that's not ideal. Plus, the benefit that we found is driving them, especially when they get to like middle school where they like, what'd you do today? What'd you do at school today? Nothing. What'd you learn? Nothing. How was your day? Fine. When you are captive with them in the car, conversation has to happen. So, we've had good like parent, and kid moments in the car. So we're looking at it kind of like that's our time that we get.
Yeah, I'll offer it to him because it might mean that he has to get up earlier next year, and he might not want to do that.
Maybe that's something y'all figure out when you get to it. But that's the situation we're in now, and I'm like, we have 2 years left, and then Joseph can drive. And then he'll be able to drive to school. And then when he graduates, Ellie will be old enough to drive and she will drive. So we got 2 years left of driving kids to school. Wow. And then it's going to be like, they're basically going to be out of the house at that point. They're like going to be gone. It's all going so fast. Anyway, what I'm writing with, you inspired me. Got my Lamy 2000 with Robert Oster Blue Water Ice that I keep in my notebook. No shock there. Got my little traveler's pen that I have a Diamine Oxblood in this one.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, because I had that at home, and I filled that up before I went to the pen show. And whatever ink I had in there for, I think it was Red Dragon, it got kind of crusty after a while. I had it in there for like 2 months and not cleaned it. So I was like, yeah.
Red Dragon can get barnacle-y every now and then. It can,
especially if you like wear it while you're working outside and stuff like that. And then I have Custom Urushi, Pilot Custom Urushi, which has Konpeki in it because I just used it in the custom video. I have my TWSBI Eco Indigo Blue with the bronze trim, which has in it, and some kind of ink. I don't remember what it is because I inked it up a long time ago. And then I have this. I just needed to do the nib nook for the broad nib on the number 15 Namiki.
What is that?
This is the Yukari Royale Vermilion.
There we go.
And this has Noodler's Black in it, which is super boring. But that's what I need to do with the nib nook. And I will have some short form videos that we're going to be doing because I just nib nooked the Namiki Ayas and some of the 14 karat Yovos that are on the Deltas, including the Flexes. And then what else did I do? The Platinum Izumo with the fine nib. So I just added all those to the nib nook among some other things. The Kaweko, Perkeo, whatever calligraphy thing, which we were going to talk about in the spotlight today.
Stay tuned next week.
We're saving that because we did the other thing instead. Anyway, so that's what I've inked at the moment. And I also cleaned out a bunch of pens because I had to, because they are not ones I'm keeping. Let's see here. What else is going on? So I've had some outdoor adventures of my own. Joseph is, he's 14 and a half, and he's mowing my lawn now, which I'm happy about, but I also am sad a little bit because I kind of like mowing the lawn.
I know.
But it's been hard because we've had we've had some decent rain here recently. So, and it hasn't always lined up with when we've been in town or whatever. So, the grass was crazy long. And Joseph, so I was out of town for the DC show, and Joseph goes to mow the lawn and just hears a bunch of clicks as he's trying to start it. And I was like, okay.
Battery.
So that was my thought. It was it could be the battery, it could be the starter, it could be alternator, it could be a bunch of different things. And the battery is 2 years old, but it's a lawnmower battery. They last not that long.
Is it like that?
It was just solid clicks, just lots of clicks.
Yeah.
It wasn't even trying to turn over.
Yeah. I've had that happen with my car before.
I've got a trickle charger, so I charge it up, still nothing. But I think it's the cells in the battery were dead. So I did some research, and you can actually buy a little device that tests how good the battery is, not just if it's charged,
right?
But it can test whatever it tests. I don't know how it does it.
Can it be charged?
Yes, exactly. And so I got that in, and I put it on there, and it was no, this battery's useless. And I was like, okay, guess I'm replacing the battery.
It literally laughed at me.
Yeah, it wasn't even oh, it needs time to read it. It just I pushed the button, it was bad. And I was like, well, that didn't take long. Anyway, now I've got that.
It's one of those device. COVID tests you hope you don't get.
Right.
Wow, that's the line showed up real quick on that one.
You're ready to wait 15 minutes, and you're like, nope. Okay, guess we're done here.
Yeah.
So anyway, replace the battery. Got that all taken care of. Now we're doing the lawn thing again. And then we were going to get together with some of the kids' friends at the pool, because pool season's almost over because school's about to kick up. So it's okay, let's go to the pool. We'll do the pool thing. And I was like, okay, I have to go to the dump because I've been out of town for the last several weeks in a row. It's there's fauna in my trash can now. Squirrels are getting in there. There's bugs that are, reproducing inside there. I was like, this is disgusting because it's hot and it's summer and there's trash bags. So I was like, I got to get this stuff out of here. So I did that on the way to the pool. We get to the pool, and then we're there for maybe 20 minutes. And then all the lifeguards call everybody out of the pool immediately.
Oh no.
And it was yeah, we got a code brown. Oh. Got a code brown here. Got to run the filters, and some kid pooped in the pool.
Oh,
that's what a code brown is. So that pretty much killed the whole afternoon there, because they were yeah, it's going to take 2 to 3 hours to run the filter all the way through. And it was well, we stayed for a little while. We just socialized and got to hang out with the kids' friends and their parents and all that kind of stuff. But it was got in the pool, and I was oh, I don't feel great about having been in this pool now. What am I?
You know what? Hey, at least they've got their eye on it.
Yep.
And that these are the precautions they take. Better to have an example of what they do if it happens, rather than.
But this is the local pool with the teenage lifeguards.
Yeah.
They're just oh yeah, that's poop. They're just yep, that's poop. Yep. All right, I guess we got to get everybody else.
Well, better
no tact.
Well, better
no
than
updates really, or there was just there's everybody out of the pool, and then we're all what's going on, and then eventually we kind of get word of what happened.
At least they didn't just be all right, get the poop net, y'all are fine, get back in.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah, true. At least they got everybody out of the pool.
You want to see that?
Yeah,
you want to see that.
You do. But it was okay, this might be the last pool trip that we'll get for this season. I don't know.
That's a shame.
So that was fun. Let's see here. We actually were originally going to be going out of town this past weekend. We were going to go to Myrtle Beach, which I've never actually been to. We were just going to do a couple of days there, but our plans fell through, and then the storm was rolling in, and it was kind of okay, this is just not meant to be. So maybe we'll do it again some other time. And plus it ended up being we had between the DC show and other stuff, other family events and other things, and school starting, it was it actually would have been kind of nuts for us to do it. So
did you get refunds on everything?
We were going to end up staying with a friend. So
cool.
we thankfully didn't. And that was part of what fell through was they
Gotcha.
had some health issues. And so that kind of fell through. And then the weather was bad. And it was like, yeah, we're just going to chill. And then so I went to the dump and went to the pool and
fun.
Code Brown. But anyway, so our plans were dashed, but we were kind of secretly glad that happened. And then other news, Rachel and I celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
This week.
Oh man, it'll be 20 before you know it.
I know. It's crazy. So like we have now been married longer than we were alive before we met each other.
That's crazy.
Because we were like 17 and a half when we met.
Man.
So we long past the point where we've known each other longer than we haven't.
Yeah.
But now it's the point where we've actually been married longer than we were single.
Yeah. So I was just trying to think of if I've been married longer than my parents were married, and I don't know. I need to ask my mom. I think we probably passed them.
My parents
Are still
have
married?
got me beat.
Yeah.
My parents are 47 years this year.
Oh my God.
So I got some time. They got a few years on me. And then let's see here. Yep, the kids are starting school. They're getting their schedules, blah, blah, blah. I'm still cycling regularly. I've actually been able to keep up with that. And I've lost, depending on whether I've BM'd that day and how much water I've drank, it can fluctuate, no joke, like 4 or 5 pounds.
Yeah.
But I've lost, at least 10 pounds, closer to 15 pounds in the last 2 months since I've been cycling regularly. So it's like,
I think of everything in terms of like bags of sugar. Do you?
no,
Because that's always like 5 pounds
that's
to me.
good.
I'm like, I can so
Okay.
very imagine 5 pounds. Like
Okay.
holding up 2 bags of sugar, that's a hefty chunk
Yeah.
of weight, man.
I mean, almost 3 pounds. Yeah. Just like strap 3 bags of sugar to your
No.
chest and walk around all the time with that.
I'm telling you.
It's kind of crazy.
That's worthy of being proud of. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. So I've been back in the saddle.
Literally.
But yeah, I've been keeping up with it. And that is going to get disrupted hard when school starts because I've been cycling in the morning and I'm like, okay,
Well, if anything,
we'll
I'm
see
sure,
if I can keep up with it.
I'm sure that it's had a mental benefit for you.
for
Just
sure.
like,
It has.
not feeling like I'm not doing anything. I'm useless. I need to do this. But like just,
Yeah.
confirming that motivation and delivering on the intent.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. Like I've been a naturally heavy person for most of my life.
Yeah.
And there have been times where I've been able to be less heavy, but it is always with concerted effort.
Huge
and
effort.
it can definitely, especially at this stage of my life, I can definitely be like, what's the point? I'm going to be heavy anyway. Why do I have to just keep trying this? But then I just kind of reached a point a couple months ago where I was like, I'm just so sick of being this heavy. I need to do something again.
Yeah, everybody's
And it's like,
got a natural shape and a natural size.
Yeah.
And, it's always going to be harder for some people than others, but it's important that everybody feels good. And if this is what makes you feel good, then,
yeah,
that's
my
what you got to do.
French Canadian farmer ancestors were just like, it's perpetual winter, and they're like, pack it on, pack it on. We don't know where
This is survival.
We don't know where our next meal's coming from.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense because the fact that
genetics,
the fact that you are so you're always hot, you don't belong down here.
No, I don't.
You
kinda
belong
right.
in the north.
Yeah.
Your body
really
wants
do.
to be, up in the blizzards.
I really could be a lumberjack up in Canada. That's kind of what I'm made for. But
Yeah.
here I am.
That's funny.
Shooting pen videos in Virginia. Go figure. Anyway, so yeah, I've just been keeping up with it. So, and part of it was like I had I guess you call him a friend, the parents of my kid's friend who I'm like friendly with, but
Yeah.
I'm not like hanging out with
Yeah.
him on my own. But he is 52, 53, something like that. And he's lost like 60, 70 pounds just from mostly diet, cutting out carbs and stuff like that. And I was like,
That's more than my kid.
I know.
Jeez.
Yeah, he's a big guy. But I was like, you know what? He's like got more than a decade on me, and he's just tightened up his diet and he's losing weight. And I was like, all right, Brian, that was like part of the catalyst for me doing it. I was like, all right, dude, you're not 30 or you're not 25 anymore, but you're also not 50. So like you can do this. And so it's been a lot of self-control of eating as well. So now you notice my bowls of food are like mostly healthy things, But
I'll
anyway.
try not to endorse certain Oreo flavored ice cream snacks in
It's all
the
good.
company freezer anymore.
No, it's all good. Like we have donuts here all the time.
All the time.
The temptations are everywhere.
Yeah.
And, at home too, it's like there's muffins, there's all that stuff. And I'm basically like, I'm going to cut out like most bread products because I really love bread. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to have carbs, it's going to be like fruits. So like I'm going nuts on fruits and vegetables. I'm just like fill up on those as much as I can. I'll have like yogurt and stuff like that. But I'm like, I'll pretty much cut out the ice cream, try not to have any soda, and then cut out bread. And that will pretty much do it for me. And it's making a difference already. So I don't know how long I'll keep it up. I don't know, whatever, but I'm trying. So
that's awesome.
Take that for what you will. And then let's see here. Also, I have another hobby that I haven't talked about yet.
Oh,
another one, which I might have a third.
All right, give me a hint.
I'll just tell you about this one.
Okay.
So, archery.
Oh yeah.
So there's a bit of a story. I mean, I've done some archery. I did some when I was at like summer camp when I was a kid. I always liked it.
You built a target. Like
I did build a target. That. Yeah, that was mostly, so I bought like a small bow for my kids to try, which they don't like really give a crap, but the bow's way too small for me. So like I've tried to shoot it, but it's like, yeah, it's kind of rough. But my father-in-law has like a really good bow and he's been shooting for like 12 years or something and does it a lot. So, but he's left-handed and he's a very different size than me. So it's like, I can't even attempt to try like shooting his bow, but I see that he enjoys it and he's talked to me about it and stuff. And I was like, you know what? That sounds really like relaxing and enjoyable. I've got the land for it. I've got the target built already for him. So I was like, let me see. So I like went to some like stores and did it. Come to find out like my arms are too long for pretty much most bows that you find at like conventional stores. They all pretty much have like a 31 or maybe 31 and a half inch draw length. And mine is 32 and a half, which kind of makes a difference. So I went to like more of a specialty, like all they do is like hunting, archery, and target archery. That's it. It's this hole in the wall place. But that's where my father-in-law went to. And he's like, these guys know what they're talking about. So I went, got like actually fitted for a bow. And I was like, let me try. Cause I freak arms. And even when I first talked to them, I was like, look, I've got really long arms. My draw length, I'm pretty sure is like exceeds the norm. And they're like, yeah, okay, buddy. Like you really know. And then they measure me and they're like, no, you have really long arms. They're like, there's guys that are like 6'8" that walk in here that don't have your draw length. And I'm like, crazy. Yeah, I'm kind of a freak. So weirdly validating, I guess, even though I've known that for a while. So got fitted for a bow. And so I've been shooting actual bow.
Nice. What kind of bow?
Just purely. Yeah, it's a bow. It's
like
it's a compound bow. Yeah, it's compound bow. I can't remember the brand of it because honestly, I tried a bunch of different ones and it was just whatever fit me, right? So I don't have all the stats on it. I'm not nerding out on it. I literally went to them and I was like, I don't feel like learning a whole other hobby from scratch. Can I just like get set up so that I just can enjoy shooting and then just kind of be good? Like I won't buy the cheapest components. I'll buy like the components that are going to last me a while. I'm not trying to be a pro, but I just want to like enjoy shooting it, be reliable and accurate and not have to think about it. And I was like, cool, I can do a new hobby. I spend like 10 minutes a day on it when the weather is nice. And then that's it. And I don't really think about it outside of that. And that's just kind of nice. It's something else to do outside. So yeah, that's my thing. But I did find that my target is not holding up because my bow has a harder, what's it called? Feet per second, whatever.
Velocity?
Velocity, yeah. It's like the pound weight, the weight. Yeah, whatever it is. It's like a 62 pound.
Your pull?
Weight, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so that really flings an arrow pretty good.
Yeah.
My father-in-law's is like 45.
Yeah, I think the Browning that I lent you is 50.
That's 45, I think.
That's a 45.
That's what's written on it, yeah.
That's
a recurve bow.
That's too much for me.
That's like, you got to hold that the whole time though. A compound bow, it does let off. It lets off like 80%.
I've shot it a few times. It's too much.
Yeah. Well, this is 62 pounds. So it's like, it takes some doing to get it back there. But then when you hold it off, you're holding like 15 pounds.
Okay.
It's nothing.
Gotcha.
But if you like, don't hold it all the way back and it kind of gets away from you, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful with that. So anyway.
So you need to get a new target?
Insertion. I'm going to build it more robustly. So the target works, but I'm like, I built this, it's basically like, I forget how deep it is. It's either 1.5 feet or 2 feet deep. And it's like a 3 foot by 3 foot.
What's it going into exactly?
So I have like some of that pink, like insulation foam.
Yep.
I have several sheets of that. combined with sometimes Rachel and I will get these like meal kits, and they have this like kind of insulation stuff that comes in the boxes to keep the food cold. So it's like this, like it's like a plasticky kind of material that's like kind of, you know, whatever. And so I just saved all those and packed it up. So,
does the pink insulation absorb water?
Not really.
No? Okay.
No. But I cover it with a tarp and it's fine.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I'm gonna try to use some water resistant materials because I'd leave it outside. But yeah, so I don't know. It's like still hitting the back of the wood of the target. So I'm like, I gotta do something. I might just pack more foam in there.
Why don't you just buy an archery target?
They're expensive.
Yeah, but they're
last. Expensive for that size. They're like $600. And I'm yeah.
How big are you trying to get?
Well, it's 3 feet by 3 feet. That's big. It's big for a target.
Oh.
Most of the ones you see at the store are like this tiny little thing. And it's
No,
like
I'm talking about
$100.
like the yellow and red ones. They're like
what, like the Robin Hood style, like the round.
No. They're like kind of nylon, I guess. But then they're dense in the middle. They're like they usually. Yeah, I don't know. I've looked at them. They're more expensive than I wanted to pay, but I feel like they were like, you know, maybe 150.
Maybe I'll have to look at them again. Maybe
Okay.
I'm shopping at bougie archery target
I'm sure
stores.
you've looked more recently than I have, but
I don't know. Homework for me. So anyway, if y'all like archery, I can talk a little bit about it, but I won't be able to nerd out on it because I don't even remember the brand of the bow that I bought. But anyway, that's something that I'm doing now. Cool. That's it for me. I think that'll be pretty good for 1 week. And then we can go ahead and wrap up. Are you looking up the target thing?
Yeah. Because I was picturing like there's a like
oh yeah, like the old school ones.
Right, but these are 3x3.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wasn't thinking about these though. I was thinking about like these guys.
Yeah. Those like they're like blocks. Yeah, but they're small. They're like not that big.
No, these are super cheap. These are like $40, but I swear
and
I've
I don't
seen
know.
bigger
Yeah,
ones.
so it depends on how much it can take, like how much power it can handle. Because 62 pounds is a pretty good. It's a pretty good fling.
Yeah.
But anyway, I haven't done a ton of research on it, but I wanted to make my own anyway. It was kind of a fun project for my father-in-law and I to do together.
Yeah.
But now it's like his arrows are fine, but mine are pounding the back of the target, so now I've got to adjust it more.
Or maybe you just need to stand farther away and get really good.
That actually would be a solution. So it's like if only I was better, then
they're so hard to find though.
Oh, yeah, I know. But that's all right.
You could do a net behind it.
I don't know if a net would work.
That's what they have. That's what they have at my son's camp.
Oh, really?
To catch all the errant arrows. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Because those kids, you know, go everywhere.
I'm sure they go everywhere.
So they have a big net on a frame that catches them all.
Yeah, I don't know.
Granted, you would probably rip the net in half.
I know you'd need like chainmail or something. You know. Anyway, that's it. I think we can go ahead and wrap this thing up.
Yeah, why not?
All right, I want to thank everybody for watching. Leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Ask us questions. You can also check out gouletpens.com for ink, pens, paper, all that good stuff. My random fun fact. I was struggling to come up with one this week, but I took inspiration about the question on straight edges. And I was going to see like, what's like the world record for like the straightest straight edge or the longest straight edge or something related to straight edges.
That's kind of like this is the room temperature room.
Right. So I was kind of disappointed because I was thinking like, because I've done like welding and you want to talk about like some straight, like high tolerances. If you're like welding for like aircraft, that's like some of the craziest tolerances. But I wasn't able to find like good information about like how straight is like the highest tolerance straight edges. You know, is woodworking too. It's like the straighter and the longer you get something, the more expensive it is. I wasn't able to find anything good about that. But I came across the what they've labeled as the straightest human-made object. It was long said to be the SLAC, National Accelerator Laboratory in Menlo Park, California. It stands for the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center. It is 2 miles long, and it's the longest, or it was at least, the longest linear accelerator in the world, built in 1966.
What's a linear accelerator?
It's, you know, they have like the Hadron Collider particle accelerator.
Yeah, those are like a loop though, right?
That's a loop. So this is the same concept, but in a straight line.
Oh.
So they will take like two things and like point it at each other and just shoot them at each
Oh,
other.
I see.
Smash them into each other.
I gotcha.
You know, so it's kind of the same idea, but
That makes sense.
not as intense as the linear ones or the circular ones.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. I was quickly out of my depth even to try to understand the basics of a deep dive around linear accelerators. Some of y'all might have more experience with this, but everything I was finding was like, oh yeah, the SLAC National Accelerator thing. But then I found something else that says the title was actually taken away as the longest straight object, man-made object. It is now the European X-ray Free Electron Laser Facility, or the European XFEL in Schönenfeld, Germany. It went online in 2017, and it's 2.1 miles long.
Is that also a collider?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I believe it's the same kind of, well, I don't know actually. Laser facility? I have no idea. I don't know if it does the same thing.
Well, can you use it with a fountain pen?
Probably not.
You
Maybe
need
you
to-
could shoot a fountain pen with lasers. I'm not sure what that would accomplish, but it sounded very sciencey. And as I've sometimes done in these deep dives, it's like I will try to understand even the broadest concept of what I'm researching, and I can't even understand it. I'm like, this is beyond anything I'll understand.
One of the less talked about goals of the Goulet Pencast is to make sure that you feel smart by having us talk about things we are super ignorant about. So you're welcome.
I'm good at Googling things.
I met an
And then talking
aerospace
about
engineer at the DC Pen Show this year.
Did you now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was like, yeah, I'm retired now. I do watercolor. It's like,
Okay.
what?
I know several aerospace engineers that I was in college with because they were military, because I was in the Corps of Cadets.
Ah,
And a lot of them that wanted to be pilots would become aerospace engineers.
interesting.
So yeah, they were not only hardcore like military people, but then they were in like one of the hardest academic programs at an engineering school. I went to Virginia Tech,
Crazy.
and yeah, they had no life. All they did was like study and do military stuff. And I was like, well, if you're going to be like a captain in the Air Force doing flights and all that kind of stuff, like, yeah, I want you to have a really hard work ethic.
That's some heavy
It's
duty
pretty
learning.
important. Yeah, I know. Let's see here. I know somebody that flew C-130s. I knew somebody else that flew a B-2 bomber and stuff like that. They're like $2 billion planes. You know, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
this lady used to work at NASA.
yeah, it's just crazy.
I know. Blows my mind.
So smart. And we sell pens.
Yeah.
So that's all good. We all have our place.
Often
Anyway,
humbled
that's
are
right.
we.
Hope you all have a wonderful week. We will see you next week. Thanks for watching, and right on.